Mic check. What happened to the mic? Why is it way up? Good morning, everyone. What a glorious day. What a glorious day out here in Indiana. And I say that as a weatherman, a glorious day for us all. Every day is a good day for a weatherman, of course. And hopefully you're having a great day out there and about. I've got my little I guess my robe on because it's kind of chilly in here this morning. I may have to take that off because this thing is pretty darn warm. If you've had any of these, you know what I am talking about. And where you can get one of those, Amazon. Of course, you can get it right there. No place else. So I just want to welcome everybody in today. It's going to be a great day. Good morning if you're in Lafayette, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, Purdue campus, and of course, listeners across Indiana and beyond if you are out and about. Welcome to Let's Talk Lafayette, your daily 3-hour dive into local, national, and world stories with a Lafayette lens, so to speak. I'm your host, Brian Burden. I've got 5 decades, that's not twice there, but 5 decades tracking weather all over the globe as meteorologist, and anything from cold, windy blizzards down in Antarctica to heat spells out in the deserts. I've done a little bit of everything and been everywhere weather-wise. I'm also a big-time Purdue Boilermaker fan and Chicago fans, and don't forget Indianapolis there too. And yes, your Indiana Hoosiers, if you're a Hoosier fan out there. As long as they're going for a championship, I'm rooting for them. If it's not Purdue, it's great to have an Indiana team in there, just as we would maybe if Indiana State, for some reason, was going for a national championship. I think we would all be rooting for them, too. It's Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. This is the Lafayette Lowdown. That's what I like to call it. We're going to cover some things like your milder weather that's been around lately. I got the slingshot out yesterday, looking for highs somewhere in the upper 40s today. There was unfortunately a single fatal car crash yesterday in Tippecanoe County, and they've finally identified the young lady that passed away in that. All kinds of different things. Gang members in town. There's a big basketball game tonight as Washington comes to town. And of course, Braden Smith was the co-player of the week in the Big Ten after he broke the Big Ten's all-time assist record. Right now, it's mostly cloudy to basically cloudy out there. A little bit of maybe a little bit of drizzle or spotty drizzle in spots, but generally speaking, it's just some foggy kind of areas, especially down, say, near the rivers. That's where you'll see some of that fog this morning. And we're just going to kind of continue on the warm trend in the next couple of days. Yesterday, we got into the mid 50s, a little bit of sun in the afternoon. Today, same thing. Late in the afternoon, we're going to try to pull up some sun if we can, hopefully by the noon time frame. But noon to 3 or so, you'll start to see some sunshine out there. We'll discuss maybe some local safety. We talked about AI requirements in the last couple of days. Lots of big time world events going on. We'll be talking about those too. And hopefully you got everything. Hopefully your coffee's ready, or like me, Diet Duke. A little bit of caffeine there, and we're going to go straight into how about a weather dive? Let's see what's going on out there this morning, everybody. I'm going to switch over my screen so I can see what's going on everywhere. And when I do that, and then because I'm just starting to learn all these buttons, folks, there'll be a little bit of a spot, and then we'll go straight into where we're at there it is. All right. So temperature-wise, hopefully you can see the full screen out there right now. 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about where we bottomed out. I think we maybe got to 37 in a few spots around the local area. Showing highs today. The forecast says 49. Wouldn't be surprised with 50. You kind of look at it, shows cloudy and then increasing sunshine as the day goes on, and then clearing out tonight, which will lead to a decent day tomorrow where we're in the upper 50s to near 60. Friday, it looks like we're definitely going to get to about 60 degrees. There'll be chances of rain overnight Thursday into Friday, and again on Saturday, probably into Sunday morning before some more cold air starts to come into the local area. So that's kind of your quick little dive on it, on what we're seeing weather-wise, at least locally right now, and what we will be seeing. So I as you know, since I'm a weatherman, I'm going to show you a lot of weather that I can show you. So And these are some of the charts that I use. They're just easy to read for me, and that's why I like them. You can find these the models all over the internet in different places, but I prefer the College of DuPage. I like the colors. I like the way it looks. I can see the states really easily. I can pick out figures, like the lakes, real easy. All kinds of your topography can be seen with the rivers and that kind of stuff. So, Lafayette is right about here, right at the tip of the finger that you can see there on the chart. That's where Lafayette is in the state of Indiana, of course. And right now, what you're noticing is a high pressure, kind of a double barreled high pressure. We can probably ring that around like this, but one big high pressure system just to our southwest, right around the quad state area there of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Let's throw in Tennessee and Arkansas and call it the whole six state area there. So that's where the high pressure system is this morning after a front went through our area yesterday. And my first inclination is to look at these black lines right here, the ISO bars. You can see the numbers on them. And notice this how it swings around Lafayette, around the high pressure system, coming from the southwest out in Kansas, Oklahoma. And then it shifts to the northwest over Lake Michigan and back down towards Ohio. Well, that's your flow of your winds around the high pressure system. And the closer these are, generally, the stronger the wind is. The farther apart they are, usually is the weaker the wind is. But I want you to notice where the shift is, where the high is. It's right here in southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and there's a kind of a demarcation point somewhere right through south central Indiana, right up through Michigan. Well, excuse me, Illinois, and then over towards Iowa at this point. Now, I'm going to pop right back over to satellite picture real quick. Notice where remember the highs right down here in southern Illinois. This is a satellite picture. And this is an infrared shot because we're just coming back into sunlight. So it's a little harder sometimes to pick up the clouds at night. And because the temperatures can be very similar to what they are on the ground. So I can see open ground right over here in Missouri really easy, and in southern Illinois and in southern Indiana down by Evansville. But you notice the grays start to pick up right here, especially a couple hours ago. You see them pretty easily. And there's a line of clouds right there that stretches there all the way up into the Great Lakes, and that's what we are under right now. What we're going to see as the high shifts towards the northeast today and kind of crosses under our southern bow, we're going to see this clearing slowly move its way and edge into there. It'll slowly dry out the clouds, and it'll open up the spot off to our southwest, and we'll start to see an increase in sunshine as the afternoon goes on. The blues and yellows up here, much higher clouds in the upper atmosphere. I'm just looking at the lower clouds right now. Another half hour, I'll start to be able to pick up a visual satellite. Let's take a look at it. Maybe we've got one in there so far. Nope, not yet. Nothing yet in there. Oh, there it is. One little shot right at the end. And as you pause it, you can see where the line of clouds are pretty easily in this. The sun is just starting to come up. We're starting to get it. So you're not seeing anything out to the west, obviously, right? But you can kind of see the demarcation line where the clouds are. You can also see that some of this is not real thick. So it'll fall apart as the high swings the winds in from the St. Louis area, and that'll dry some of this out, push it off towards the northeast, and we still should see some sunshine later on this afternoon after some sprinkles overnight and some just low clouds and some fogginess here and there. Let's take a look at where the high goes as we go back to the charts. Again, remember, southern Indiana over towards southern Missouri is the high, and it just kind of shifts off. It kind of reorganizes at times as you go through that period. But notice the southwest winds out towards the west starting to come in towards us, crossing Missouri into Illinois. This is 00Z, so this is about 7 o'clock this evening. The high is now basically Tennessee over to West Virginia, and we are full force into the southwesterly winds that come around the high pressure system, and we look pretty good by this afternoon into this evening. And then it continues for a while. We're good, and now we're pushing into Thursday morning and into Thursday around noon time frame, and here we go. We've been talking about this low coming in tomorrow night into Friday, and that there'll be some potential for some rain with the system, but because of the timing, it's not great. Plus, it actually moved a little bit. Yesterday, let's see, today's Wednesday. Monday, the low pressure system was right about here at this time frame. And then yesterday, it started to shift it off towards our northwest a little bit, which meant this batch of rain right here, which this shows coming in at 20Z. So you're talking about 3 to 4 in the afternoon tomorrow. Some time frame right in there will pass by. You notice we're very much on the edge. We're right about there. And as that goes by, it could pop a quick shower late tomorrow afternoon. And then we get into that nice, warm southerly wind that's coming up around the low pressure system with the rain hanging out towards our west for the time frame into the evening hours. With the next best chance of rain starting to pop up, it looks like about 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and a bit better of a chance. You can see that it's darker greens, maybe even some thunderstorms out towards the west there. And it kind of just runs along our edge, though. We just never really get into it for a while until there you go. Now we're talking about 2 in the morning, and there could be a line of some showers or maybe an isolated clap of thunder with this tomorrow evening when that comes through. It'd be about anywhere from midnight to 3. It looks like, at least on this time frame here, and then it presses out, goes through, and by the morning, it starts to clear out. But the low pressure system's now way up in Michigan. It crossed all the way across through here. And the cold front is back here, just off to our west, with a big pocket of cold air back up, bottled up in Iowa, Minnesota, and northern Wisconsin. And that will try to swing through later on in the day, probably into Friday night. So still a couple scattered showers Friday morning. Let's go a little farther out than Amnest. Let's see what it does. It shows the line of thunderstorms, or again, we're talking a clap of thunder here. We're not talking some big severe weather that we have moving through tomorrow night at all. And that goes all the way up to Friday morning also. So let's go out to the actual NAM for 6 hours. There we go. And you see the pocket of the snow up in Wisconsin kind of moves over towards Michigan. And this line here, I've explained in the past, is kind of the line where we think of rain on one side and snow on the other. It's called the 540 line, which is the 5,400 meter thickness line. And then, one of the first things they taught us in forecasting school was about that. So that's just something to keep in mind there. That is Friday evening into Saturday. And I've noticed now that the low here to the south is a little closer to us than it was yesterday. So the front swings through Thursday night into Friday, and the low goes off in the front, trails down to the south. And then a low pressure system forms on that and moves up a little closer to us right now on that Friday into Saturday morning time frame. Brings in a chance for the rain there. There it is. So the NAM's a little more rainy than the HRRRR was, or the HER. And it's got some snow on the backside with just a slight chance for some light snow coming in, maybe Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. So it slowed the system down a little bit too compared to what it was. And there's not a lot of snow with the system though. And the low passes off. Big pocket of cold air back here. You can see all these dashed lines. As the thickness lines get smaller, the air gets colder. Basically, warm air is thicker, cold air is thinner, and that's kind of how we can see some of it at times. Let's take a quick look at farther out. Let's go to the GFS global model, and it shows that low kind of busting on through sometime. Oh, that's Saturday afternoon into the evening hours into Sunday. It's trying to hold it off there. It's got a different timing so far on it and coming in a little quicker. So we'll have to see how that goes. We're still, 5 days away from that, so 4 or 5 days. So we'll see how the timing goes. But the trend is colder, obviously, right? And then it doesn't show a lot of precipitation. A quick moving system late on Tuesday next week, maybe, still reinforces the cold for a little bit. I'm seeing, again, not much for rain at all in the picture. No snow hardly. And then there's a pretty good system that pops up way out next Tuesday, January 20th into the 21st. And I see some ice in here. That's the pinks that you're seeing in there. Snow on the north side with us in that snow, and rain to the south. But it's 2 weeks away. So we'll see what happens with that. A lot of times it may pick up a big system like that, but the timing will be off. It'll hit on Monday, or it'll be as late as Thursday or Friday that week. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's go to the temperatures and see what we're talking about here. I'll come back to the beginning. Here we are, warm temperatures. Tomorrow afternoon, here's today. This is on the GFS going out farther and farther. 60s tomorrow, 50s, 40s, and then we get the push of cold that comes in by Sunday. There it is. And it stays cold. You see more blues in there, unless the greens are now off to our southwest. We get a little shot here and there, up and down, which is pretty normal for January, seeing temperatures in the 30s. And if your averages are in the 30s, you can see temperatures in the 40s, or you can see temperatures in the 20s. Pretty easy for your highs. Easy to remember, even though the average may be in the 30s and even the low 30s this time of the year as we head into the coldest time of the year, which is the end of January. Still pretty chilly all the way out through January 18th. And now you're getting more of an average type of look of weather. There's a little warm spot right before that one system comes in. Remember that would be Monday into that Tuesday with the snow possible on that day, with that system comes up out of the south. Another thing to remember is when systems come out of the south, they generally have more moisture with them. Why? Because they are able to tap into the Gulf of America, of course, where systems coming from the north don't have that. They're running across Canada, and there's less water to tap into, less moisture to get into. Let's go back to the her here and see what it says for temperatures. And here's what it's showing for today. So it's got us somewhere in the upper 30s right now. Looks like we're going to try to press right up to about 47. It shows this afternoon, and the 50s are not far away. So again, depending on how quickly the clouds clear out, and they move off towards the northeast will be dependent on how much of the temperatures we get into us. Look at this, temperatures 60s, upper 60s in Missouri today, and mid to upper 50s, even 64 over at St. Louis. So we're going to be on that line of the upper 40s, maybe scratching 50 out here if we can, especially if you're down towards the south. If you're Crawfordsville over towards Attica, it almost shows a little bit, and then it starts to cool off again overnight and back into the mid 30s before we warm back up tomorrow. Now, notice what happens tomorrow during the day, where we just kind of increase all day. And there we are at 60 degrees by about 4 in the afternoon tomorrow. And we're there with the low off towards our west. We get into that nice warm pocket after the slight risk of some rain in the afternoon tomorrow. And then it stays warm all night. One of those nights where you're high on Friday, maybe actually Friday morning at like 2 in the morning, where it'll be like 60 degrees. And then it hangs on through the morning before everything tries to come crashing down from our northwest later in the day and into Saturday and into Sunday. So nice warm spell for a little bit. Let's go back to that daily look. This is from MSN is all it's from. And it ingests the data and then just puts numbers out there for you. I have to adjust it and look at it and try to figure out what I think as a weatherman. And that's what you get from most of your weather guys. All right. They adjust. They don't just go with the numbers. They adjust based on what they can see, based on what we saw in a satellite picture, remember? So here's that visual. Let's see if we've got any more shots in on that one. I don't think we do. Um, a couple, just not enough to see there. And the other one wasn't that great either, but we'll keep an eye on this. And over the next hour, this will all fill in and we'll start to be able to see much more. But you can still see the distinct line down towards our west, southwest, and south as everything retreats and goes back towards the northeast slowly as the high moves that same direction that's down towards our southwest today. So weather-wise, not bad, really. Not a bad day. Maybe I'll take the slingshot or out this afternoon, or maybe you can get out on your motorcycle too if you're doing that kind of thing. I know a lot of you folks like to do that out there. So that's your weather forecast right now. It's nothing busy until, well, I guess as a weatherman, it's always busy with the scattered chance of rain tomorrow night and maybe an isolated thunderstorm or a clap of thunder Thursday night into Friday morning, and then again on Saturday. But right now, at least for the next day or so, just decent weather temperature wise for the month of January, and things are looking pretty good on that front. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm not sure if you are or not, but for me, these are all good things, and I like a little bit of the warmth. I like cold weather. I'm not sure if you like cold weather or not, but I do. Obviously, I went to Antarctica, 7, 8 times. Was there in the dead of winter when it was minus 60 degrees, and was there in the summer where it only got up to about freezing at McMurdo, which is the United States Antarctic program's main base down there. So winter weather is one of my deals. I love the cold weather, but as I'm getting older, I'm just like everybody else. I'm starting to get a little cold feet every once in a while, and I got a little bit of some warmth on today as it's pretty chilly in the studio here this morning. So hopefully you are warmed up. You've got your coffee. You're ready to talk a little bit. Maybe we can chat as we get through the morning. Hey, looks like Ray's back in here this morning. Ray, how you doing this morning, man? I see you chatting there. Says good morning, but how are you doing out there, Ray? Ray had a surgery yesterday. Hopefully everything went good with that, and maybe he'll pop in here and let me know how he did, and we'll see how that's going because Ray's like me. He's had a lot of neck problems. He's had a lot of different nerve problems with him. And boy, folks, if you've had chronic pain, if you've never had it, I do not want to wish that on anybody. It lingers. It's tough on everybody. And Ray was in getting some how we call it, cleaning out yesterday, getting some scrapings done, getting some things fixed in there, and we're going to try to see if he's going to start feeling better, and some shots and that kind of thing. And same with me, I'm going to be getting some shots pretty soon to see if I can relieve some pain and pressure. And if you're going through that, lots of prayers out there for you and many blessings that your doctors know what they're doing for you, out and about. Meanwhile, for us today, wow, big game tonight going on. There's a lot of local news in here. Yesterday, I touched a little bit on a single vehicle crash yesterday. Um, and they didn't know who it was at the beginning. I think it actually happened on Monday, and it was a woman over on Cortland Avenue, and she had gone between, she had hit some trash cans and gone between some stuff and went down into the ravine and was ejected out of the car. Well, they figured out who she is. Her name is Hannah Dowell. She was 29 years old, and it's still an ongoing investigation into everything, well, what happened. Um, but of course, the police want you to worry about safety concerns and damp weather. That makes me think maybe there's a possibility that's what happened. But she did go off the road into the ravine, and it didn't end well there for her. We have prayers for her family, the Dow family, and anyone that knows her. On that, you can find information on that, of course, at WLFI or the Journal and Courier, about what happened and more details on that right now. So those are the main things that came out of that, who she was and what happened. And any other circumstances we don't know yet, at least at this point. Um, I like this one. This was the second story I started to see too this morning. An alleged Lafayette gang member is arrested. He's arrested for intimidation after a social media post. Okay, what to me, in my mind, what does that mean? Intimidation after a social media post. Does that mean if I say I dislike you right here on this, you can arrest me for that? Or was it really something bad? Like I'm gonna, kill you, or I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. So that person was arrested. They're tied to a local gang here in Tippecanoe County. Are there gangs in Tippecanoe County? I guess there probably are. We're getting a lot of influences now from Chicago and from Indianapolis. We're caught in between. If you think about it in your mind, Indianapolis is growing towards us and Chicago is growing towards us. And Tippecanoe County is right in the middle. We're not just that little home place that you can go to now. We're a pretty good, strong, thriving city in itself between Lafayette, West Lafayette, and the whole county. So we're starting to see some of these things pop up from time to time. Now, law enforcement is monitoring the online threats, of course, of what happened, and what you can find. It looks like there's a story on WLFI and JC Online, and you can find out a lot of information on that about what happened, where they were able to find it. I'm looking for it right now here through some of my numbers, and of course, it never pops up when you're needing it, right? It's like, hey, where'd that come from? Uh, so, uh, what can I find here? I'm gonna go to Star City. Maybe I can find something there. All right. Deceased woman. Okay, they have the story up there for that too. Uh, well, it never fails. It comes up on my run, but it doesn't come up on the sites where I usually go and look for that kind of thing. And it doesn't seem like it's one of those things that we think about on our own. We think about some of these things in the bigger cities, gangs and that kind of stuff. But there's plenty of people here, especially with the campus here, and what 2/3 of the year there are plenty of people between Purdue, Lafayette, and West Lafayette. You got everything you need here in the city, and you still have plenty of countryside surrounding it. So we also talked this week about some fires and things that happened in the local area, but there's some Creasy Lane temporary closures that are up for construction that I can see here. Closures for Culver's and the Chick-fil-A development. And I think that's right in that area around Creasy there. Man, that road has been pretty rough in that area for a while, so maybe they're working on that. Maybe they're changing some of it. It's going to affect the local traffic, though, obviously, for a while. Expected to reopen soon, and they're going to have updates out soon, too, it looks like. And of course, that's going to tie into less traffic in those areas and less business for those folks. You're advised to use alternate routes if you can do that. And the closures, how long they're going to last, it just doesn't say here right now, right? You know how they leave that open and the signs say after a certain date, it seems like, and you don't see anything about it. But So that's where one of the areas is going to be where you're going to see some of the closures. All right. What's happening big time sports wise local today? Of course, Purdue men's have a basketball game against the Washington Huskies, who are coming in. Huskies coming in after losing to Indiana a few days ago. Now they're coming in here. They're getting kind of a double whap. They get to come into Indiana and Purdue. That way they don't have to fly back and forth if they don't want to. They probably stayed locally, I would think, the last couple of days. But Purdue's number 5 team in the country. That came back out on Monday. Nothing really changed in the top 5 teams because nobody lost. It's a key matchup for them, Washington. Washington's not a top-ranked team, not a top 25, but they are in the basically about the top 50 or somewhere real close to that, depending on which day you catch them, because it varies every day. There's numbers and statistics that come out. Sometimes your team varies a little bit based on what other teams do too. So um, there'll be like a number one offense, which is generally the Purdue is the number one offense in the country right now by statistics. And that basically is every time they come down to court, how much do they score? And they're the number one team in the country for that. And their defense is now about 14th or 15th. One time I look at it, it's 14th. Another time I look at it, it'll be 15th. But so they're looking pretty good right now. The Huskies, on the other hand, are hovering around 50 to 60 in their defense and their offense out of 300 and some odd teams that are out there right now. So the Huskies still a quad one possibly, or probably quad two win if they can get a win there tonight for Purdue, and it'd be a huge win for Washington if they can upset Purdue after a big game over the weekend where Braden Smith broke the Big Ten's assists record, and he became the Big Ten Player of the Week. The team is now 13-1. They got momentum 5 games in a row. Won 8, lost 1. That debacle kind of weird thing that happened against Iowa State. Iowa State is a great team also, and it's just one of those games that wasn't there. But since then, they're 5-0, and they are winning by like 26.5 points. So they're looking pretty good. They're focusing a lot on the defensive strategies, and you have seen that push for the defense after what happened in Iowa State, and they look great. The guys are putting forth the effort. Braden's all over the place. There's steals. There's guys jumping in front of other guys. Walling up when they get down low. They've looked really good defensively. And I saw somewhere they were like the number 4 or 5 team defensively over this last stretch of 5 games in the country. So pretty good. That's what got them from somewhere in the 30s and 40s defensively down to 14th or 15th. And I had a video early this year before the season started where I said they would start out there and they would work their way into the teens because you could see the defense from the last few years. You knew what they already were. You knew you were getting your senior players back, and they would make it something that would be important to them. And they sure have gone out and done that. So, looking pretty good for that big game coming up this weekend. Well, after the big game that was this weekend, for them coming on tonight and being able to see what they're going to be able to do against Washington. I've got some of the numbers here for them. Wanted to go run through them real quickly. I was talking about Ken Palm's numbers. Of course, Purdue, number 1 team offensively and defensively. Let me see what I've got here. I think I've got some numbers. Defensively, they are 15th right now. So 14th, 15th is what I've been seeing for them. Now, offensively for Washington, they are 66th. Their overall ranking is 51st, so just outside the top 50. But they are offensively, they are 66th in the country. They're number 355 in tempo. So you think Purdue's slow in tempo. Washington is slow in tempo also. Their average possession length is 17 seconds. Wow, that's a pretty good number there. They are a very good offensive rebounding team at 37%, which is 39th in the country. So they'll be pushing Purdue on that front. Their defensive efficiency, excuse me, is 56th in the country, and they slow teams down a bit. They're still in the middle of the pack, though, on that front, it looks like right now. And they hold teams to about 48% of effective field goal percentages. And it looks like 3-point percentages are 32%, which is 120th. That's kind of surprising. I think that number holding teams at 32 is pretty decent these days. And not bad at all. So adjusted efficiency, Purdue's number 1. Washington's defense is 56. That's probably the big takeaways from this is how much will Purdue score on Washington's defense? They're not a bad defensive team. It just so happens that Purdue is what? Your best team in the country. So throw in the lack of maybe a bench for Washington, and Purdue's efficiency machine should neuter the Huskies, it sounds like. And I'm getting some of this stuff from Hammer and Rails. Don't be afraid to go there and check out some of their information too. Read their stories. All right. What else can you see? Well, we talked about the Purdue's adjusted efficiency. I said there, it shows a number 95.15, which is 15th in the country. Washington's offense is 116.6. In this case, the lower numbers mean better. So Washington's offense is 66th, right? Where Purdue's defense is 15th. That seems like Purdue has the top on that too, right? They should be able to stop Washington's offense a little bit, but we'll have to see as the game comes on tonight. The efficiency is fueled by made shots, basically, is what you're going to see. Every time you don't match a Purdue basket with one of your own, you're going to fall behind because it does, as you know, Purdue's going to squeeze out everything they can get out of their offense. And it's harder for teams to catch up. Purdue can go on these long streaks. They've already had streaks of 10 points or more, something like 6 times already on the season, 4 to 6 times, somewhere in there. One of the top teams in the country to do that. So they can score pretty quickly on you, and they can score a lot and hold you down once they started focusing on that defense pretty good. The guys really are getting into it. Purdue's offense, 3-point percentage in the country, were number 9, and the defense for Washington is 120th. So it seems like we probably got a little bit of an advantage there for Purdue. So your advantages would be basically offense and defense, right? But your 3-point percentage should be a little bit higher today with that, and the defense on Washington should be a little bit lower. Um, when you start to pack in down low, covering Trey and Oscar and DJ and the guys down there, you fall to prey of letting us shoot three-point percentages. But a lot of teams do that. I know I keep hearing this. Oh, they don't think we can shoot 3-pointers. Well, a lot of teams would rather you shoot a 3-pointer than a 2-pointer because the statistics say you're probably going to maybe be ahead of letting them get it down there and getting a dunk or a layup, right? So it seems statistically that would be a better thing. So expect maybe it looks like Lawyer to get 10 shots off tonight. I would think Braden will get maybe 5 3-pointers off. CJ probably a half a dozen too, maybe as a possibility, as they have a front court that's both 6'11", both the guys will be down there covering Trey and Oscar, and then when he comes in, and Benter. So it'll be a good battle down low. There'll be times, though, and I think this will be something we'll be looking at, where Trey and Oscar go right at their guys to try to get them in foul trouble because Washington doesn't have much of a bench. If they can't keep their big guys in there, they're going to struggle. What are the advantages for Washington? Well, Purdue's defense against rebounding is 58th in the country, Purdue defense rebounding. They're a great rebounding team. But Washington's offense, like I said, is 39th. So that could be something that they could take advantage of. Extra shots mean extra points, right? So they're going to have to really keep their hands full with Steinbach that's on Washington, Heinz Steinbach. It looks like he may battle TKR down low on that. And the freshman who gets a lot of offensive rebounds, but scores more than Steinbach. And it's just one of those things. Excuse me, I've gotten mixed up a little bit. Hans is the guy from Germany who's got the 15 points a game scoring and like double digits in rebounds. And the other guy's a little softer, and that may be who's playing Clough, but that means Clough may have a big advantage too. So Purdue's good at finding out who the weak link is and going right at it, like many teams are. And in this case, you're going to have 2 options, Oscar or TKR down low. And then out wide, you're going to have all 3 guys are going to be able to shoot threes. And I'll get to some of their percentages too here just in a little bit, percentage-wise for the shooting. Ken Palm's prediction shows that Purdue should win the game 82-67, and there's a 92% chance they're going to win. It looks like it's going to be one of those really good games, something that'll be exciting. I think Purdue will slowly just pull away as they go through it, probably win by 15-25. Sorry, Washington, if you're watching this somewhere around the local area. And it'll just be one of those games where Purdue does what they're supposed to do. Let's look at some of the numbers, though, for the team. Right now, Fletcher Lawyer is leading the team at 14.4 points per game, but he's shooting 40% from three-point land. 40%. And that's even with the downstretch he had of 2 or 3 games where they were winning by 30 still. So it looks, as usual, This is Fletcher's fourth year, and what, probably 3 out of the 4, he's been cold in December a little bit. Maybe he doesn't like that adjustment to the cold weather. We'll see what happens with Fletch. But Fletch looks like he's coming out of it. Love to see him shoot 10 a game. He made 4 for 10 in the last game, so he was looking pretty good on that front. He draws some fouls at times, which is nice. He tries to get in there, and he can get some steals. He's third on this team in steals. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. Fletch has 11 steals on the season so far. Trey Kaufman-Renn is second on the team in scoring at 13.8. And of course, his rebounding is the big talk of the town right now. It looks like rebound-wise, he's averaging 9.8 rebounds per game, which leads the team. So he's basically double-double right now. He has taken a hit in his scoring, but I think that's been done on purpose. That's to get Clough into the game. That's to get CJ more into the game. You got Braden running around, Lawyer. You have so many weapons on this team. Trey just wants to win the ball game. So he picked up his rebounding, and his scoring's come down just a little bit. I think, as I stated yesterday, I think he's going to have one of those 30, 35-point games where he's going to score there, and it seems like he will probably score 30, 35, and then around that game, all those games, he'll probably score 20 to 25, and his average will come back up. It'll be somewhere around 17 to 18 probably by the end of the season. So, hey, got back from Ray here. His recovery's going good. On his way to better health. He's talking about there was an upset. Minnesota beat Iowa last night. The Purdue bench is one of the best in the nation scoring, rebounding. You got it, Ray. You're covering it. I love it. We're going to have to get Ray on the show, right? He hasn't seen Riley Burgess play this year. Yes, that is interesting. Is Riley redshirting? I'm not sure on that one. Is Burgess redshirting this year? That may be a possibility. The guard who I've lost track of his name. Let me see if I can go back here and find it real quick. I think Burgess is redshirting this year, Ray. That's what he's doing. So that's why we're not seeing anything out of him. And the one guard is too. Both guys are going to be big-time impact players next year, just like Benner is this year, coming after his redshirt year. So expect some of that to happen. Third leading scorer on the team is obviously Braden Smith, 12.6 a game, but he is now coming in. Where's his assists at on here? Assists is 135 he's had so far. And he's averaging on the assists at like 9.6 on his assists per game. So he's doing pretty good on that front. And it doesn't give a number on there for the actual assists. Just 135 is what I see, but they've had 14 games. So he's just barely under 10. At the beginning of the season, I wanted him to get about 12 and a half so he could break the record against Indiana in late February. So he's going to have to pick it up a little bit. Braden, if you're hearing this or somebody is, get the note to him. Hey, pick it up. Let's see if you can break that thing against Indiana. Right now, it looks like he's going to break the all-time NCAA record either during the Big Ten tournament or during the NCAA tournament. And that'll be dependent on how far they go, possibly. But at the pace he's going right now, it looks pretty good at this front. He's shooting great from threes at 38.9%. Lawyers at 40.6%. Kaufman-Renn, well, he's at 40%. It's not bad. But CJ's at 41%. So I want him filling it up too. Jack Benter has taken 30 three-pointers, and he's made 18 of them. 60% shooting on three-pointers this year. Jack is doing great with that. And Jakari is at 35%. That's still nothing wrong with that. That's not bad at all. All these numbers are higher than the percentage of what Washington gives up. So I want my guys shooting against this team because they're middle of the pack to what was that, 110th somewhere in there for three-point percentages. It looks like that could be a mainstay of something that might work pretty well. Let's hit Oscar's numbers real quick here. Oscar's averaging 11.4 and 8.8 rebounds. So almost a double-double machine. He's had plenty of double-doubles this year. And his relief is averaging 4 rebounds and 9 points. So when you put the two together, Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson, you have someone who's scoring 20 points a game and is getting, how many rebounds is that? That's 13 rebounds a game. I thought they were getting maybe more like 14 or 15, even as high as 17 or 18 yesterday. I was thinking that in my mind, but it's actually 13. 20 and 13. Who would not take that from anybody as a starter playing 40 minutes as your man big down low, that big man down there. So that's a great thing there between the two of them. Oscar's going to get beat on a bit tonight, and TKR. I think Daniel may come in and have a big game in this when he comes in. And remember, there might be games where Daniel plays for 24 minutes and Oscar's only 16, but most of the time it's probably going to be Oscar at 22 and Daniel at 18, somewhere in there roughly. And right now they're averaging 23 and 16, so you can see how it is. A little bit more play time for Oscar right now. Of course, he's the one who's been around more. He's a little more seasoned, and we know what he can do for his double double. So, a lot of good stuff there numbers wise. What's Jack scoring? Jack scoring 6 a game, CJ scoring 8 a game, and Daniel Jacobs scoring 8.7 a game, so almost double digits. So 4 guys in double digits and a bunch at 6 or more. And Jakari and Liam are coming up with 5.4 and 2.9 their scores per each. And they're just down on the shooting a little bit. Liam's not shooting bad. He's at 400. He's not getting a lot of play time. It's for him. He'll work his way in there. There'll be a Liam Murphy game somewhere or a Jakari Harris game also, I'm sure, as the season goes on. So what are we talking about for excuse me, some of the other statistics, combined team statistics in our conference games so far? Braden's the leading scorer, and Trey Kaufman-Wren has come up, right? That's in your conference games, so they're now 3-0 in the conference. Fletcher's right there, still at 14, so he's not changed much. But your field goal percentages are Braden's shooting 50% from three. Harris is shooting 46% from three. Seeing Big Ten plays starting to come on pretty good there with that front. Jack Penter, he's only taken one during 3-point play in the Big Ten so far because his time has been a little bit more limited. Also, rebounds in the Big Ten. Trey's at 9, Clough's at 8.3, both at 9.3 and 8.3 respectively. And then where's the assist? Assist 32 for Braden. So he's averaging just over 10 in the Big Ten play. And I expect him to stay double digits. Let's say they got 17 games left in the conference. He will probably average about double digits in assists in all but maybe 3 of those games. All but 3 of those games, I'm guessing. So his average is probably going to go from that 9 point something to like 11. And I see him getting 12 to 15 in some of these games easily, easily. And the guys are out there trying to do their best to do some good damage to get him some more assists, just as a good floor general would. All he cares about is winning, and that's a great thing there. Now Purdue right now is averaging 86 points per game. They started off pretty much at 82. You know, those first couple of games is just one game to average out there. But percentage-wise, 86 points per game, 86.4. Not bad at all. They're averaging about 40 rebounds a game. They're getting about, 19 free throws a game? Well, they've had 240 so far, and they're shooting a 76% clip there, and three-pointers 39.7 after 345 tries. They made 137. So the opponents have only made 111 and have shot 40 more than Purdue. So they're only shooting at a 29% clip, and that's because Purdue's defense is staunch and works hard at it. So some exciting news, exciting numbers there. I'll probably come back to them again later in the show, maybe in the third hour, and we'll talk about the numbers there. Let me see what Ray has to say. Yeah, he hasn't seen Burgess. I'm pretty sure Burgess is redshirting, and so is the other young man. Help me out there, guys, if you can figure out what his name is, who's also redshirting this year. So something to keep in mind there on that front. Purdue looking pretty good. Not a lot to worry about. Let's take a quick look at Washington. Their starting lineup goes 6'1", 6'4", 6'6", 6'11", 6'11". And you have a sophomore, 3 seniors, and a freshman. So, senior-wise, they're doing pretty good. Best player on the team, though, is the freshman, Hans Steinbach, and he's getting 11.8 rebounds and 18 points per game. So that guy is something to watch out for. But I would think we would go right at him because when you start to look at their bench, they have almost nothing. They got a 6'7" guy and a 6'1" guy there. They're playing about 7 players, and that's it. So you get those 2 guys into trouble, and they're going to have a struggle trying to figure out how they're going to stop Purdue in any way, shape, or form between their 2 big men. Now, their guards can make their own, right? You know, a lot of our guards in different places can make their own points, but can they pass? Can they do other things? Right now, it looks like their shooting guards and their point guard are pretty good at getting their own points. One's averaging 15 points, And the small forward, Desmond Claude, is averaging 15 points too, while Zoom Diallo is averaging 15 himself. So three guys averaging double digits on the team. And that'll be something to have to keep an eye out on, and what's going to be happening with them. We talked about the efficiencies and where Washington is just middle of the pack, Midland. That's all they are. There's nothing wrong with that. They are 9-5 on the record so far. They lost their last game 80-90 against Indiana on the 4th. So here they are coming into town. You know how Purdue's going to go out west and they'll be at USC and UCLA back to back. I've noticed a lot of the West Coast teams, when they come out this direction, they get them 2 games back to back kind of thing too, so they don't have to travel as much. Good thing with the scheduling on that, and that works out pretty well for just about all the teams. Meanwhile, the 2 games before that, they beat Utah and they beat San Diego. So Washington coming into town tonight for that big ball game. What else we got going on there? Let me go back here and see what uh, West. There you go. West is the guard's name. And he definitely is redshirting. And man, I've seen some good video on West. He is going to be quite the scorer himself. And being with this team for a year, you can see some uptick in him. This team next year is going to be very young. They're going to be very exciting to watch. I hope they run up and down the court. I want this team right now to run up and down the court. Man, when they get out in open transition, they look great. They look like an NBA team. I want that more. Coach Painter, let's do that some more. But next year, it's going to be more of the same. You're going to have West. You're going to have the new guy coming in out of high school who's going to be top notch. You got all the guys that'll be stepping up, like CJ, that'll be taking over as now sophomores moving to junior next year. So they'll have experience. DJ will be down low. Number 1 recruiting class next year. I'm not sure about that. At one point it was, but they vary these things from week to week. So it depends on where you're checking on it, Ray. So you never know. You might catch one of those things, you might not. But generally speaking, Luke Ertl is the guy coming in. I think that's his name, right? Ray, maybe you remember that or not. I'm not sure. But I think his name is Luke Ertl. Dude scoring like 30-something points a game. He's throwing out assists. He's getting rebounds. He is basically Braden Smith 2.0. 3.0. We got these guys coming in. They all look about the same. You're going to have Liam Murphy will be gone next year. This is his senior year, but you're going to have Omer is going to be your lead candidate to take over for Braden next year. And that's kind of what he does now. He fills in time there. And Omer's got some great skills too. Man, between him, between Luke Ertl coming in, and you're redshirting for your guy, how come I keep forgetting his name again? I did it again. West. Sorry, West, man. I'm sorry, man. I will get you down, man. I've seen your video, dude. I know you can play. You are a baller, so don't worry yourself about that. But between those 3 guys, you're going to have quite the competition there to take over for Braden Smith. With CJ and Jakaria there in the mix, you got 5 guys that can play the guard spot really well. Then you'll have Benter mixed in. That's when we start to see Burgess again next year. Benter and Burgess taking over in that spot. DJ down low with the big freshman 7-footer coming in. It's going to be quite the team to watch next year. It'll be a building process probably more next year. Will they be top 10? Very strong possibility. They will be ranked, though, pretty much all next year, I think. They just may not be as good, especially at the beginning, because they're going to be youthful. It's just being honest, right? Are they even going to have a senior on the team next year? Maybe 1 or 2. I'll have to go back and look at who's where and when, but and then who leaves and who comes in maybe through the portal too. And they did such a great job with the portal this year. If they do just as good a job next year, this team will just rebound right back into a position to have a chance to vie for another national championship, which I believe they are no worse than the Final Four this year. And I've been saying from the beginning, 3 losses and winning the national championship. And that's a heavy boat to tow along behind you. Only 3 losses in the national championship, but these guys are focused on what they want to do. I've only seen them lose their focus a couple times this year. One was the Iowa State game, and they got slaughtered when they did that. And to be truthfully honest with you, after Braden broke the record last, Friday or Saturday night, up in Wisconsin, they seem to lose their focus. I can see the excitement. I understand that, but the defense kind of dropped off for a bit, and the offense was sluggish. That last 10 minutes, they only scored like 12 points after they had been up by 25. They still won by 16, but something to keep in mind. A good team, great team. We are this year a really good team, borderline great team next year. This one this year is great. Here's the problem. they would still be the top-notch team in the country, but Michigan is playing so good, and they have a great resume. They've beaten some great teams by some good points. The Purdue Michigan game may be the game of the year when it happens, and that's what, in February. I'm pretty sure it's in February. They're coming to town here. Probably the game of the year, I would think. Both teams playing great ball. Still, other good teams. Nebraska's come out of nowhere. No one expected it. They thought they'd be good. But they didn't think they'd be this good. They thought they'd be middle of the pack. Great to see them playing some good basketball out there in Nebraska. You still got Michigan State. They're a really good team too. They're borderline great on their own. Illinois is a really good team. Indiana, I don't know what to think. Indiana's Indiana the way they've been lately. You'll get a great game out of them, and then you'll get some poor stuff from them off and on through the season as the season goes on. That's kind of been their mantra the last few years, it seems like to me. But they are your home team rival, basically, right? Indiana's your in-state rival, and they're your biggest rival. So in those couple games, it could go either way. Same thing with Illinois. They're so close to us. They're just a big rival, and both teams get up for each other. Doesn't matter whether you're at Illinois or at Mackey. It's a possibility that one team or the other could win because of the stature of the game itself. So Purdue still got 6 to 8 really tough. We'll say this: there's 2 to 3 really, really, really tough games, and then there's probably another 3 to 5 tough games, and then the rest they should win. Now, of those tough games, they should win all but one of those, probably two. And those really, really tough games, if there's just one or just two of them, let's split it up somewhere. So that's 1 or 2 losses possibly going down the stretch there. And then if they win out in the Big Ten tournament, NCAA, all we care is about those last 6, right? Let's just run those down and we're good to go. We want to end on a 6-game winning streak and take the national championship this year. Something that some of us have been looking at and talking about on the internet since Zach Edey's last year, 2 years ago. When that season started, we were already talking about them being potential national champions 2 years ago, right? And that then there would be a rebuilding season last year, which it was. They'd be good, but they wouldn't be as good. But then the senior years of Braden and of Fletch and of TKR, that season would be the big season also. So you had 2 opportunities to win the national championship. You got to the national championship game 2 seasons ago. Are you going to do it again this year? And with the senior leadership, I think it's a strong possibility that they're going to do it again this year and get there definitely to the Final Four and just keep every game is a different game, right? Washington's a new foe tonight. Only focus on Washington. Who cares who you're going to play on the weekend, which happens to be Penn State. And then next week, it's going to be Iowa coming to town. So they got 3 home games in a row. And if you win these 3 in a row, you're now 6-0 in the Big Ten. And you're already more than a quarter of the way through your schedule. But there's a gauntlet in February you're going to have to run through. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of different things going on there factor-wise. Penn State coming to town again, and then Iowa next week on Wednesdays also. So a lot of the season, I noticed they're playing a lot on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then it mixes in a Sunday and a Monday here or there or Tuesday. But generally speaking, lots of like this is Wednesday this week, Wednesday next week, Saturday's the next ball game. So something to keep an eye on if you're setting your schedules up trying to go somewhere. All right. Let's see what else we've got on store. Boy, there's national news going on. We took Maduro over the weekend. Lots of people are worried about that. I love it. Trump is throwing out words out there like he's going to take Greenland and everybody's panicking. Here is what you need to know. And I don't care whether you are left-leaning, right-leaning, in the middle, red, blue, purple. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you are, ethnicity, male, female, black, white, and Hispanic. It does not matter. Wait 24 hours before you start making opinions on what's going to happen, because in the first 24 hours, there is so much garbage out there and so much stuff that people latch onto that is never true. Never true. And so wait to see what some of these things say. Trump is so good at this. He throws these things out there, and for 24 hours, the place goes crazy. And all the media is crazy about these things. And then he comes out 24 hours later or 2 or 3 days later and is like, what were you guys talking about? You just twisted my words, right? And they do that all the time, like saying things like he said, go down to the Capitol on January 6th, and they throw out the idea that he said peacefully there, right? Peacefully and patriotically. And they don't even use that because they don't want you to hear that. So then you think he's telling everybody to go down to the White House or down to the Congress and take over. See, that's how people get what they want, and they try to find their way and get to it. So wait 24 hours. Start thinking about things. Sometimes you might even have to wait 48 or 72 hours to figure out what truly is going on. We'll talk about it on here. If you text into me, I'm still going to talk about it. That will be happening. So no worries on that front. You're going to see that and you're going to hear it. But it does look like if you wait, you're going to be pretty good. All right, what's Ray talking about here? Let's talk snow. Do you think we will get some heavy snow for some fun sledding? Sorry, Ray, nothing in the picture right now. It is going to turn a little chillier here, Ray. At the top of the hour, I'm going to hit weather again, so I'll show you what's going on with that, Ray. We'll go get right back into it, and we'll see how things are going on that front. But man, there's just so much going on all over the place between the world stuff, our local stuff. We started covering a few of the things locally that I was talking about a little bit there. What else we got going on local here? The Purdue women are going to visit Wisconsin. They've got this is a working process, the women's game, right? Got to give the coach some time to work on this stuff, the players some time. There's all kinds of stuff going on with the team, and you're getting some really good games and you're getting some poor games. But their conference play is starting to intensify now. And they're looking for a big time, a Big Ten win if they can up in Wisconsin as they're visiting up there. And that's after Daniels had a 20-point showing in the last game. So the player performances can be highlighted. You can find a lot of that stuff on Purdue Sports if you're into women's sports. And I highly advise you, if you've never been to a college basketball game, go to one of the Lady Boilers basketball games, right? First off, and it's no plug on the ladies. It's just there's more buzz for the men than there is for the ladies. So generally, it's easier to get into the ladies' game than it is to get in the men's game, which is almost always sold out. So that's nothing against the ladies. It's just that's the way it is. So this is an easy way for you to go watch some really good basketball and watch your Lady Boilermakers try to win some games. This week, though, they're going to Wisconsin. So I'm not sure when they're coming back home, but go check the schedule out and you'll be able to figure that out, right? What kind of things? Boy, we did all kinds of different things. We covered the accident that happened on Monday. We talked about some of the safety issues the last couple of days for the fire department's worried about, making sure you've got your space heaters taken care of. That was something we talked about yesterday. And so we're focusing a lot about what's happening in Lafayette and whether you want that or not, because this is the time show and the time frame for you guys. You know, as Ray's been getting in here, Gunner's been getting in here, talking to me off and on. So we're starting to see people slowly get to this. Maybe within the next 6 months, there's a lot more of you getting in there, and you'll be texting me trying to tell me what you think. And I'll be laughing at you and with you all at the same time because we're going to have fun on the show. It's not supposed to be just about me. I just happen to be running it. I would love to just guide you through what it is going to be eventually. It won't be just chat. We'll try to get it. You can email me right now at let me make sure I know what my email is. Let's talk Lafayette live at gmail.com. No, okay. There's no apostrophe between the T and the S there. Let's talk Lafayette live at gmail.com. And so you can email me there. You can chat on the live stream right there in YouTube. And pretty soon we're gonna figure out how to get the phones working, that kind of thing. And we'll see if we can do anything along those lines with that too, where we can talk to each other that way a little bit better. Although I see plenty of programs who just chat and that's it. They just chat. Matter of fact, you don't even see the person's face a lot of times. Sometimes it's just radio with pictures up there and they're just chatting back and forth. For me, I think it's a back and forth. You see pictures, you see videos. I show you maps and charts, and we talk about that kind of stuff too. So that's the way I like to run it, and that's probably the way I will run it most of the time. So that's what you'll be seeing there. All right. So it's the top of the hour, the beautiful top of the hour. What are we going to be doing in the top of the hour? Well, next hour we're going to kind of get into things. We call the first hour the Lafayette Lowdown wrapped up. We're going to call it wrapped up this time, but we call it the Lafayette Lowdown so far. I like that name. Maybe there's another better name. Where we talk as much about Lafayette as we can, yet we still cover America. The biggest stories will still be out there. We talked about maybe we'll get some local ties on to national people from Venezuela and the oil deal. How does that affect us here? We'll talk about Greenland. I just brushed across it, but we'll talk some more about that. How does that affect us here? What does that do for us? And so those are some of the things we'll be talking about in the next hour or two. But right now, I'm going to pop over to the weather, see if there's any kind of updates. And remember, I'm a meteorologist by trade, so hopefully I don't over talk a little bit too much on this. But I try to explain things every time I come across something that you may not understand. These are easy things. This is just the MSN's page, shows our current temperature at 39 degrees. Winds are real light at 3 miles an hour. That helps to create that mistiness out there too, because it's not pushing that southwest wind. It's not strong enough to push the clouds out yet. The forecast on this says a high of 48 today. We've already hit that low of 38, and then a high tomorrow of 58, 63 on Friday. And then there's some of the cold air coming back in on Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. Best chances of rain are going to be tomorrow night into Friday morning, and then again on Saturday into Sunday with maybe some snow on that. And the new updates are starting to come out right now, so maybe I can show you some of that in a little bit too. But let's take a look at what's happened over the last year. Actually, this is all the way back to March. The dotted lines, dashed lines here are the actual average highs and lows. So these are your lows, these are your highs. Here we are now today. This going past this solid line today is what the forecast kind of looks like. And what you'll notice is the next couple of days, very warm temperatures on your highs and lows, right? And then it drops back down to more seasonal to even a little chilly after that for a while. After we had a pretty good chilly period and one warm period, we were really cold back in middle of December, remember? Generally speaking, when you look at this, we were pretty average during the fall. It looks to me like here in the summer, we were actually slightly below average. A lot of these temperatures seem to be at or below average with just a few days above. A good long stretch in July and August. Instead of 95 in the afternoons, we were seeing 85. Okay, that's just the way it was. But the spring was kind of in and out, lots of big ups and downs, and that is the biggest time of the year you do see up and downs, where you see these big swings with temperature up to big swings with temperature down. That's when you see the biggest. Then you see a secondary time frame in fall, October, November, December, where you see the same thing, big swings up and down. Where then in the middle of winter, it kind of steadies out. Middle of summer, it kind of steadies out temperature-wise. So that's kind of what your temperatures look like and what we kind of ran to this year and where we're going right now. Let's take a look at the models real quick. We'll cover those again real fast. Let's take a look at first the HRR. It's 3 Rs, which is high resolution rapid refresh. This is the 12Z model run. These are the temperatures. That's your high for Friday. Now, you got to look at the temperature on here and the date and the time. Lafayette is right here. It shows 59 degrees, but this is 7 o'clock in the morning. Your high temperature on Friday may actually come in the early morning hours, and then it'll get chillier as the day goes on. The model stops there at that point, but you go back, you see it's pretty warm all night. See that? There's even a 60, 61 in there in the middle of the night. As this low pressure system is off to our northwest, there'll be a front that swings out and then back and down around it. And the warm air will be on this southeastern side, and to the northwest will be the cold air. And we're going to get into a nice warm pocket there Thursday night into Friday morning with that. And then, but during the day, Thursday, look how nice and warm it is there too, right? So Thursday looks really good. Yesterday, I got the slingshot out. If you want to get your motorcycle out tomorrow, you should get it out there too and enjoy yourself on that. Here's today where I'm edging back towards the day. Here's this afternoon into this evening, and it shows basically the actual number that reads on there is 47. I would say we're going to have a shot at getting close to 50. Look at this, 52, 51 right over in Champaign. And it's all dependent on how fast the clouds clear off and how much of that sun we get into this afternoon, okay? So 47 degrees. The big high is settled in between Kentucky, Arkansas right now. If I go back a couple, there you go. You can kind of see where it is. This is currently where it's at. Generally speaking, Evansville down towards Little Rock is where you're going to see the high pressure system. And we are kind of still on the northern edge of this, where the flow hasn't shifted around to the southwest strong yet. But as the high moves to the northeast like that, and we shift around the system and it kind of shifts out and away from us, the winds will shift a little bit more for us. See how it kind of moves over into Kentucky and Ohio. The high, you don't see actual H's on here, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea. And then we're fully into the southwest winds and southerly winds by late this afternoon into this evening. And that will help clear things out as the day goes on, that change in the wind direction. But for the next 24 hours, there's no real big chance of temperature changes like that for us. We're gonna warm up, and we're gonna have a chance for some rain tomorrow night into Friday, and then again repeating on Saturday. Locally, it's going to be pretty warm, though. Let's go out a few days. Let's go out to the GFS, which goes out much farther. Temperature wise, warm, warm, warm. Here we are on Saturday, still warm weather. And then there's the front, the second front that'll come through on Saturday into Sunday. And then there's that cold air that's behind. Now you see the blues are in here instead of the greens. So now we're talking much colder temperatures. All next week, a bit colder, a little bit of warmth. See how you're getting some up and down, normal for weather, right? And then later in the month, there brings in a pretty good system somewhere around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 19th, 20th, 21st. But it's so far out, folks. I'm not sure we can't trust any of that right now. Let's change over and see what it does say for those rain and precipitation on there. Um, I like to go to precipitation type. If you go to this website, College of DuPage, I like the greens and the blues. It's just for my colorblind eyes, it fits a little better for me, and that's the only reason. You might like them from some other sites, but they work just as good. So there you go. There's the rain coming through. Right, that's Thursday into Friday, and kind of runs through. And then there's a secondary system on Saturday into Sunday, and it's all going to be dependent on where this low right here goes. The closer it gets to us, the better chance we'll get some more of the rain. The farther away is, the better chance that the rain will stay off of us. All right. That's the 6Z run. Is the 12Z in? The 12Z is not in yet, I don't think. Nope, it has not come in all the way yet. And then there's some snow on the backside. It shows on Sunday. That one's up for question right now. We'll have to see how that is. That's still 5 days away, and there's not much accumulation that shows on that from yesterday. Let's check out some accumulation on that real quick. Winter snow accumulation. You notice it's an inch. It shows like an inch from that system, possibly. And yesterday I was telling you half an inch to an inch. So not a lot from that system right now. And that all these always depend on the trajectory of the low pressure systems and how the fronts kick in, and then your distribution between your temperatures, your highs and your lows, leads to instability in the atmosphere too. All right, let's go back to the high resolution rapid refresh, and we'll go to precipitation type there and kind of give you an idea, because this is kind of what is showing what will be happening for us in the next 36 hours or so. All right, so here we are now. There's the high. Remember, I'm talking about the high down here. There we go. Get that out of there. And these black lines around here are isobars, and they kind of show the flow of what the wind is. This 5400 line up here is generally what we like to think of where the snow rain line is. North and usually west of that is probably snow, and south and east is usually warmer. In this case, it's warmer down here and colder above that. One of the first things they taught us in forecasting school was that 5400 line, which is the 540 line on some maps too. So that's something we look for, but you see it's to the north, and you also see there's no precipitation around us. The high takes over in the next day or so, right? So as it goes through the day today, it's in control overnight, through the day tomorrow, and then right around, bam, there it is. It shows 21Z, which would be 9 o'clock. That's in England. Here it's 4 o'clock, right, in the afternoon. There'll be a chance for just some showers buzzing through the area real quick. This is one of those really fast. So in classic terms, the low is here, the cold front comes back here, and this is your warm front out in front of the system, right? So as that warm front passes us, as it passes us in the afternoon tomorrow, there's a chance for a shower or two popping up here or there. And it's just an hour or two, and then it goes through real quick. And then remember, we talked about the warm air coming into Lafayette, which is right there. That warm air comes in tomorrow behind the system, behind this warm front here, and before the cold front. And the showers stay off to our west, at least at the beginning. And then they don't really come back into the area. This is your heavier rain, kind of just edging across this. If you're in Rensselaer, it looks like it's going to be raining by 9 o'clock tomorrow night, because that's when this time frame is, where we're just kind of getting into the edge of it. Lafayette takes a little bit, and then there's a little line of stuff that comes through around 1 or 2 in the morning, develops, and notice how thick that gets through the morning hours into Friday morning. And there could be a clap of thunder or two right in here. Luckily, it's in the middle of the night. Stability-wise, it's pretty good. And we're not talking severe weather right now, but we'll keep an eye on this. I think there could be some thunder with that possibly. And a few scattered showers linger behind the system. This will be that snow and rain possibly, but this model doesn't go out that far. Let's do look at that convective real quick. Here's one of the things I like to look at: lightning density. Let's look at the lightning. Remember, I said that line could have some lightning with it. You notice there's nothing, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, right there at what is that? That's 8Z. So you're talking at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a chance for a thunderstorm to rumble through and then goes through pretty quick. It's just a couple hours there. Right now, that timing is about 3 to 6 in the morning for Lafayette and the local area around us. So there is a slight chance for some thunder there. That would be Friday morning, Friday, early Friday morning on the front. Let's take a look at the satellite picture too. I probably should have popped this up first because I've been talking about the cloud cover that's in here now, but the sun's going to pop out here pretty soon and into the afternoon hours. So as we go from night to day, you notice you start to pick up some vision. So those first few charts are really just a visual shot that's dark out. So as the sun moves from right to left across the screen, you start to pick up more of the clouds and you can see more. So I'm going to stop it right here. And Lafayette is right here. I got the highway there and the river there for you to see, and you can see the state pretty easily. These clouds up to your northwest are high clouds. That's why they're a different color. They're in a different shade. And then you got your visual shot of everything down here. So this one is enhancing the colors to see it a little bit easier. So you can see the low clouds in white and blue and grayish, and the higher clouds are in a slightly different shade, but it is a visual shot. The high is down here. Remember, I said we're up here on this northern edge. The winds down here are pretty strong southwesterly, and they're going to be slowly edging towards us as the day goes on. So that's going to erode this entire area, and you're already starting to see holes in it. You see this all the way through this gap down towards Cincinnati, back up around Indianapolis, just south of Lafayette, over to Champaign, and then it circles around. These are all low clouds that you're seeing in here, and that's why it's been misty and cloudy here this morning. So this is going to edge towards us, and this is going to dry out as this system moves towards us as the day goes on. And when you refresh it and you see it, you kind of see it moving. You see this pocket getting bigger and opening up, and you see this back edge slowly starting to erode and move this way. And at first, here, these first hour or two, the sun is at a very low angle. And of course, this time of year, it's at a really low angle anyway, but it's at its lowest angle, obviously, in the early morning or late in the evening as you're going into sunset. And so it's not have a big effect yet. The higher it gets into the sky, the more effect it will be to dry out this backside of this edge and push it towards us. Hence, noon to 3 o'clock as we break out pretty good in the sunshine, depending on where you're at. A couple of you might see that even earlier. And the longer we get into that open, the better chance we'll be at 50 or 52 for the high today. So not a bad forecast. Look for their stuff tomorrow. Snow maybe Sunday, but it's very light at this point. 5 days out, we'll keep an eye on that one for us. Weather-wise, at least that's the way we look right now. Hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully you like that, Ray, and everything worked out there on that front for you. What did I hit? Oh, man, I hit the wrong button. There we go, folks. I'll figure this thing out one of these days. All right. Let's see here. Ray, you in there still? Yeah, he said he wanted to talk about snow, so I got him some snow on that. It's 10:15. It was 40 degrees out there just a little bit ago. Currently still 39 in some spots. I see 44 down in Indianapolis. And Terre Haute's a little warmer too. So you can see the warm air is not very far from us. But news-wise, what's been going on? Venezuela, obviously. Venezuela. What a big deal this has all become with us going and snatching Maduro out of there. Trump in his first presidency put out a bounty on Maduro's head, and nobody complained about it, right? And then Biden upped the bounty. And all the Democrats were running out there, the microphone, we got to go get him. You got to get him. There's a bounty on him. Then Trump actually goes and does it, and everybody complains Trump's a bad person. You see how you wait 24 hours to think about this stuff and why people complain? The right complains about the left because they're trying to get something out of it. The left complains about the right, especially Trump. Trump has been over the top even more than normal. I don't think you Democrats are this bad normally, but for some reason, Trump over the last 10 years has triggered you really, really bad compared to where you guys were 20 years ago. You were more like the right, which was you complained and tried to use it all the time, but you weren't mean and nasty and all that stuff about it. But now it seems like Many on the left are doing that, and I'm just lumping them in together. They're not all like that, obviously. I know plenty of leaning people who are great, awesome people. As a matter of fact, I think 60 to 75% of what we all believe is pretty much the same. We just argue about the things out on the 25%, right? Or even the 10%. And then we argue about that and try to use it to get our way somehow or another. Sometimes that leads you into sitting behind a microphone and talking about things. And other times that gets you into just arguing with people for no reason at all. And it's funny. I've gotten triggered by things, and I've had people triggered by some of the smallest things. Um, I like to talk about things, and I appreciate your opinions until you get nasty. And we're talking, people talking about death threats and calling people names, and just talk about it. That's all you got to do. I've run the name gambit once or twice too myself. I got to stop that too, but I haven't done that in a while because I got called out on it, and I stopped as soon as it happened. Right? That's been 6 months to a year ago already, and I'm not someone who use foul language or usually call names, but when you're on the internet, sometimes you type that stuff in there pretty easily and you don't even think about it. And that's part of our problem too, where it's too easy to get after people just using the internet itself. All right. So, Venezuela. We got Maduro. We went in there. Now it's kind of some chaos there. There were shootings in the streets. They were running over people. The vice president took over. She's still a communist too, and now she's trying to get her military and her cops to kind of get on her side, even though she says that she's on the United States side and she's going to help out. She's having her people try to show that she's still in power. Isn't that funny how that always happens? As soon as they take over power, you shouldn't have to do that. You should just take over power and people should believe in you. You shouldn't have to call out the army, right? To go after the people in the streets. You shouldn't have to call out the police to go after the people in the streets. It's one thing to go after people who are breaking the law out there and doing things like the murders that have been really bad in our country. And then it's another just to go out and start running over people and showing your authority, which happens in communist countries everywhere, everywhere. So you can see this coming on a little bit from both sides on the possibility that maybe we went too far, maybe we didn't, but it sure seemed good enough 3 years ago, but now all of a sudden it's not. So it seems to me like, and you're going to hear this a lot from me, depends on what president's in the office. It really does. And what you think and what your friends think. Okay. And don't get mad at them if they think the other way, because there's about 5 different angles on this Venezuela thing here. First off, we got rid of a cartel leader, a guy who maybe, quote, wasn't a cartel leader, but he was leading all the drugs that were coming into our country, right? So we want to get that stopped because we've lost over 100,000 people in our country per year in the drugs in the last 10 years. It's something like that as the average is 100,000 people. That's a million people that just died because of drugs, right? So we want to get that to a stop. Many of you have probably had it happen in your family, and you would love to have it have stopped earlier too. So it's a scourge. We're trying to do something about that. Years ago, Maduro took over. He lost an election, and he still stayed in power. So we got rid of that. That's one gambit. So you got you got getting rid of a drug guy. Then you're getting rid of a guy who took an election and even though he lost by 35%, still kept control. He took over the oil industry in Venezuela. Venezuela was the richest country or the second richest country in South America, and people had everything they needed just 30 years ago until the communists and the fascists kind of took over the country and then took over the oil industry. And at that time, they also kicked out the United States. And the United States oil companies lost a lot of money there. So there's that aspect of it. And now we're talking about 30 to 50 million barrels coming to the United States to make up for some of that. At least President Trump announced that. And then we'll see what happens with that. If we get that, then he's going to sell it off and your gas is going to drop off everywhere. It'll be great. And so that'll be really good for economic. But economically for the Venezuelans, they don't have hardly anything. And that's compared to where they were 30 years ago, especially. Money is hard to come by, jobs, the whole thing. They are in dire straits because of the way they've been run as a country. So the people of Venezuela is like a fourth ring of where you're being helped out there for the people that are there. And then fifthly, and something people don't think about that much is, and there's actually a sixth one, but the fifth one starts with China and Russia. Both of them had their hands in Venezuela and were trying to make inroads into Venezuela so they could get back into the United States and have a foothold in South America and the Western Hemisphere. And we can't stand for that. Um, And I can get back into that question because that brings up questions with China and Taiwan too, and whether we should do something over there with them, because isn't that kind of the same thing? Maybe I'll get to that in the third hour. But right now, I'm just talking about the fact that China and Russia are pushing themselves into Venezuela, or they were, and we're putting a stop to it. Okay. So now Trump throws out all these ideas of how we're going to get some oil out of this. There's going to be an election within 18 months, and that we've got all these other problems that we're going to take care of. But Venezuela, and I heard this, I think it was Glenn Beck who had this, it may be the first domino, Maduro maybe, where we're putting a stop to China and Russia at things, right? Right there. That affects Iran. All the oil affects all of these different places, and it makes our hemisphere a little more stable, makes theirs a little less unstable, makes them more unstable, and they have no ties in our Western hemisphere as much, and it works out good for down the road. So this first domino falls, then it affects China. That's the second. Then it affects Russia, the third. Then it affects Iran. That's the fourth. People in Canada are going to be affected because they were getting oil and stuff from Venezuela too, along with Russia, along with China. Iran was in it. If you've heard of the BRICS organization, BRICS was the big countries that were trying to take over, which was Brazil, right? Russia, India, China, and what was the S? And maybe Ray, you know the S. What's the S out there? I'm not sure what it was, what the S was for, off the top of my head. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not that big a deal. I'm not going to sit on it too much, but the BRICS was trying to take over money wise. They're buying gold and trying to do stuff and become the world leader, right? So we're putting a stop to that for a time being. We're also putting a stop to the craziness of the WEF, which is where Europe is at. Europe is at, we're all going to do this kumbaya stuff together, and you're all going to listen to what we have to say, because they ultimately are the ones who are going to be in power with their WEF ideas, right? And you lose your freedoms in the United States. But nobody talks about that, right? And Europe talks about it because they're already kind of fascist and socialist over there everywhere anyway. So I heard here yesterday, also on overnight last night, that Trump thinks Europe's lost. I've thought that for a year or two already, that they've allowed too much to happen. Only Poland seems to be standing up to anybody. And Hungary. I think Poland and Hungary have not allowed some of the craziness that the other countries have allowed. So that's something to keep in mind there with them. It's just one of those things. You got all these dominoes that could come into place. So are we playing the long game? But we're doing it like lightning speed. It sure looks like that's what we're trying to do. Playing the long game and doing it in lightning speed and trying to get it done before these other things take over, right? The WEF was climate. It was about giving money to them, to the organization, and then you would get this and you would get that. But those were just gifts, and you know you were going to struggle to find jobs. We were going to turn into fascist country. Basically, the WEF is communism. It is. It's just them in control, but they call it by another name, right? If you take communism and socialism and give it a different name and say it's community organizing or something else, right? I'm just throwing some words out there that we've changed things about before. It's still communist, right? You still have problems. Communism has never worked anywhere, right? And the first one that may fall in this whole thing could be Cuba. Cuba has been reliant on Venezuela, Russia, and of course China a lot. And as soon as they lose their oil, how many problems are they going to have? So you can see some stuff where Trump is getting in there and he's working out some deals with all of these places. Greenland, maybe to take it over. I'm not sure if he's really going to do that. We're definitely not going to go in there militarily. No, we're not. We're going to talk about it. It's a scare tactic. That's all it probably is. I can't see us running in there and doing anything like that. And they're going to give us some spots for bases, and we're gonna have a big foothold in Greenland. Denmark may keep it, but we're not going to go in there militarily and just take over. Ray was right. South Africa. That was the S in the BRICS. Way to go. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for letting me know. I knew it was there somewhere. Ray, you're going to have to stay with me. So my memory, you know how bad it is. He knows me really well. Ray does. So it looks like that's where we're at least on that front. Cuba may be the first one that gets hit hard because they were getting all their oil from Venezuela, and now that may come to a dead stop. When you don't have oil, you can't do anything. China's going to lose 10 to 20% of its oil. What's going to happen to them? And that's where that question I was saying I might get to a little bit later comes in. What do you do with China? If you start taking oil away from them, you're going to back them into a corner too, possibly. So this could go either way. You're either going to come out really good in this, and that's what Trump so far has been doing that, and we have been coming out very good in all these. The tariffs worked, all these different changes, the borders closed, all these things have happened, and they've been good for the country. Regardless of whether you like them or not, they've been good for the country, okay? Um, and so he's moving now into this other area, and he's working on this, and it could be good for our country. But if I'm China and I'm the leader of China and I'm sitting here going, they're taking my oil away. They're trying to kick me out of the southern hemisphere there in the western hemisphere of South America, and they just went and took a leader, and they're complaining about me taking Taiwan. Well, I might just go do it because I'm losing oil, I'm losing this, I'm losing that. My economy's terrible. The people hate it here. They don't like communism either. Um, where you what are you gonna do? You back that rat into a corner, there's a possibility they come out firing, and they're just gonna go take Taiwan, all right? If you watched yesterday, I told you, best times to attack Taiwan are April and November. That's when the seas are the best, and you can get ships across very easily from China, if that's what they're thinking. And regardless of those of us in the military who know that there are bases over there, that we have them in now one in the Philippines again, all over Japan, Guam, they're sitting targets for China. They are sitting targets for China. Um, and I hate to say that. What can we put some force over there? Yes, we can. Can we do enough? Not against China. Taiwan is going to have to float their own boat and try to stay up on their own. And China knows where absolutely everything is in Taiwan and will be able to take it out pretty easily. And this will be a drone war. I don't. There may be a land amphibious landing just to come into Taiwan sometime in the next few years when this happens, if it happens. Um, and I'm still only 70% bet on it it's going to happen. I still think this 30% is with Trump pushing them, could push them away from it for a much longer period, but we'll see how it goes. But drones, you've seen it in Ukraine, we've seen it with Russia. Drones are taking over every single battle. So because they're taking over every single battle, China's been watching this and they have a big, huge fleet, just like the United States does. We just don't talk about it, right? And apparently we used drones in Caracas when we went in there too. And we didn't tell a bunch of people about that, obviously, for reasons. And we're just as strong with our drones too. That might be something we can fight back with a little bit. But why would I take and move a lot of my people from all over the world to get to China to try to help out there? And leave everything else pretty wide open for attack also when I have people there, but I just don't have enough. I want to say to myself, my fellow Marines would take over. The Army that's there, it's going to do that. The Navy is all over the place. They got their ships. Some of them are over there. But in reality is you have an entire force sitting in China. The entire force is there, and they're bigger than us, and they pour more money into it. They have more ships than us now. They've got all these things. They poured into it for the focus on taking Taiwan. And we will be overwhelmed with what we do have there. It will take us a while to get into the fray. We might be able to throw some people in there right away from those close in areas, but those areas will get attacked too. And yes, they have continental ballistic missiles in China that can hit Guam, that can hit these places pretty easily and take out things without even going nuclear. Um, so I believe China has a much better war position than Russia did. Right? Russia went in for the quick attack and hoped they could take over Kiev really fast, but the rumor says that they lost a big transport plane trying to land at the runway there, and they couldn't hold the runway, and that's why they backed off. And it's been a 3-year slog, which is exactly what I went for from the forecast when that came out too, which was this thing was going to be trench warfare and drones were going to take over. And that's exactly what has happened. Why can't we just stop the fighting and stop the killing? That's one thing I want to happen. And I'm an ex-military guy. I wanted to do my job. I wanted to do it for my country, but I don't want anybody to die, truthfully. I want us all to be back to the kumbaya stuff and happy with each other and loving each other. That's where we would like to go. And I know many of you are exactly the same way too with that. So it's just one of those things. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. So that Maduro thing changes, really. There is just so much to it. There are many more dominoes to it than just the Maduro getting him. All right. Now let's go back to one of those tentacles that flies out or those dominoes that falls. Trump on Greenland and his acquisition of it. He says force is not ruled out. Remember, that was 24 hours ago. All right. 24 hours ago, he said that, and the media's gone crazy with it. Oh my gosh, we're going to take over Greenland. What are we doing? We're trying to kill everybody. We're not going to go running in there with our military. This is just a posturing. We're going to work with Denmark. Eventually, we're either going to have 3, 4, 5 actual military websites, military installations there, or we're going to get some of the land and take it over from Greenland in an actual monetary way from Denmark, and the people of Greenland will become American citizens somehow or another, right? But it has that Venezuelan link into it because it started here. So he starts one place, he moves on to another, he moves on to another, and he's at like lightning speed, right? And you got to wait 24 hours to 48 hours to really think about what he said and what he's talking about. All right. Of course, Denmark opposes it. They a lot of people are out there going, how did they get it in the first place? It's closer to the United States than it is to anywhere else. So why wouldn't they be here in Canada? Um, so our expansion into this is a big debate from different people. We're looking to get some bases. That's what we're really wanting to do, right? That's what we're wanting to do. And that's why Greenland's in there. And Greenland, there's only 50, 60,000 people there. I think they've shown a couple of those studies that say Greenland's fine with them becoming the United States citizens because they'll get a lot more than what they have through Denmark. Denmark, a small country, obviously, doesn't have the power that the United States has. And Denmark can't protect them very well if an actual war happened. If Russia did say, we're going to go in there and take over. Um, we're good at rattling the saber really good to get what we want, and that's what happens when you're the big boy on the block. You can do that, and that's what we're doing, and Trump is doing that, and he does that a lot, and he gets what he wants almost every single time. Go back and look at his history when he's talked about things and gotten really rampant about them and gotten consistent with them about what he wants to get done. Bam, there's some kind of deal gets done, right? That's what's going to happen here in Greenland too, probably. So there you go. That's one of the things. That's one of the dominoes that's coming back with that. All right. Let's see. What do I have on my list here? Paychecks shrink from debt crackdown. So garnishments restart January 7th. And I'm thinking we're talking the college stuff, right? And anything you owe to the government that had been stopped for a period restarts today. So if you're out there and you got a school debt, you're going to have it come back to you, and they may actually use garnishments to take it from you. So a lot of people are going to be hit by this. There'll be some hardships that you're going to have to worry about. Get some money towards them, whatever that bill is that you have to give them. Show them you can pay a little bit, and keep them off your back for a while. All right. I'm sure there's going to be some policy backlash for both sides on this because they both kind of signed on to it, that they were going to do this. And we'll see what happens as we go through time on the paycheck garnishment there for people. Millions paycheck could shrink January 7th as government debt crackdown is about to hit the workers. Okay. So there you go. The Department of Education is preparing to garnish wages from borrowers who have defaulted on federal student loans, marking the first widespread use of this tool since early 2020. Those of us who pay our own bills or do whatever, are saying to ourselves, well, why should we have to pay for that person to do that? Whatever. The system was set up so people could get money and get into college as long as they paid it back, right? So why shouldn't you do that? It's the same thing with my house. It's the same thing with anything. So the people who are in the biggest hardships seem to be, I don't know, some of the elites out there who are complaining, like your doctors and your people. I don't make enough money. I owe $500,000 for my education. That was your education. You wanted to be a doctor. I am excited you're a doctor, but you're getting lots of money at your job, so pay off your bills. Just find a way to get around it. The plumber down the street has bills to pay for the wrenches and the things he has. He has to go find a way to pay for that stuff, right? Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't everybody who has their training pay for it unless it's being offered to you for free? And I'm okay with that. Rumors about having some kind of government where you work for the government for 2 years afterwards, after you do something like the military does. You can get free college in the military, but you got to put in 4 years, right? You got to put in 4 years in the military. I'm okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to go to college, get some money that way and get into the Peace Corps. If that's what they run a program like that, do that. I think that would be great. But if you got in and you took a loan out to get into that and use it, you got to pay it back. That's all. I shouldn't have to pay it back because technically some of that money and you yourself, some of your money went into that and was given to you so you could go to college. All right. It's just paying bills. It's not that hard of a thing to think about. All right. All right. Let's see. Here's another nice story here. This is out of the US News. Excess weight and back pain risk. About 7% of us increase about 10 pounds. I think that was over the holidays for that. And the research findings show that many of us have problems with water weight during that time frame. So that's what that's going for there. Uh, it says this is by Dennis Thompson. He's a Health Day reporter, and he did holiday treats and had a few extra pounds, just like the rest of us. He did that over the holidays, and he was able to find out some information about that and finding out that people have a low healthy BMI of 18 to maybe 35, a lot of us, and the prevalence of low back pain comes in when you start to get to that point. And it increased by about 7% for every additional point of BMI that you hit. So if you're at 18 and you go to 19, there's another 7% chance. Every added point to the BMI is around 10 pounds to your body. Now, I've lost 125 pounds in the last year or so, and my frame feels much lighter, feels much more comfortable. I'm still an old man. I still got arthritis in the knees that they hurt a lot, and I have my chronic pain from my spinal cord injury, but I feel so much better because of it. So they're talking about what happened over the Christmas time frames, the excess weight you took on from eating too much, and that you can hold water weight too during that time frame, and this all can lead to more back pain. And now, I talked the talk about trying to lose the weight for years and years and years, and I never got it. I would go up, I would go down, I would go up, I would go down, and finally I am down. I'm hoping I'm going to stay here. Have some prayers for me on that front for staying at the weight and getting lower, even possibly. That would be really nice if I could do that. But I want that for you guys too, so that you're all healthy and around longer. I could care less what you look like, doesn't matter. But I want you healthy because I want you to be there. I want you to be around for my next 40 years that I'm still here. Um, and I'm no spring chicken, but I want to be here about 40 more years to see my kids, my grandkids, and my great grandkids grow up. And maybe we get to the great grandkid point. Who knows? But I want to see my family. I want to see how the world works. I want to see what Jesus put on this planet for us to see, all the beautiful blessings that are out there. And I want that all for you guys too. So remember that. So let's think about that. That was just one that kind of popped onto my screen there. Um, what else do we have? How about Ray popped into me here and he says Las Vegas Raiders fire their head coach. Have you heard any news on new head coach for the Raiders? I have not yet. I have not seen anything about it yet at this point that it popped up. But I have been seeing some stuff on the Bears, of course. The Bears playing in the playoffs this weekend. And Indiana, the Hoosiers are going for the national championship, trying to get into the national championship game this weekend. So there's some really big games going on football wise as the season rolls down there and we head towards the Super Bowl and the national championship in football. The Bears, uh, the passing game's been pretty good. They set records this year. They kept talking about this guy, this new quarterback, Williams, not being very good. Well, yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he? There are 7 guys on the team who have at least 30 catches. That's something. Um, and they're going to get a return boost. I think Burden's coming back. Yeah, my namesake, Burden the third, I think is coming back. But still a lot of great receivers there. They played Green Bay already this year twice. They split the games. Both team won at home, and it is at the Bears Stadium in Chicago. So the optimism is really high for the Bears game that they can win this. But it's Green Bay. And before that, the Bears were like, what, 17-1 over their last 18 games or something like that crazy before they won the game a few weeks ago against Green Bay. This is a different team, though. There's a bit more defense. These guys have a chip on their shoulder. They seem to want to do what they can, and they seem to do it the right way. And they're trying to build a really strong team. This team we thought would be like this next year in a great position as the number 2 seed in the NFC. And have a chance for the Super Bowl. Well, here it is a year earlier. Remember, our Cubs did the same thing a few years ago. We were thinking 2017. I remember this very distinctly. That we were thinking they were going to win the World Series in, I think it was 2017. They won in 2016, right? Is it 2016? Yeah, it was 2016. And but we thought it was 2017 they were going to get there. They were just going to be a really good team in 2016, but they got it done in 2016. Well, could the Bears do that? They've only got like a 3% chance of winning the Super Bowl at this point. The only one that's worse than them is Charlotte, is the Panthers, right? It's the North Carolina Panthers. So they're the only ones who have, and they're like a 0.3% chance of winning. So history's not on the Bears side, but the Cubs came out of nowhere and kind of did it a year early. Maybe the Bears could do that too. And that would be pretty exciting, especially after how Indianapolis kind of fell apart for a lot of us around here too, who like Indianapolis. Um, I talked about the Cubs and their history of what happened there too, right? Um, they are trying to get some guys into their starting rotation that might help them out this year, and we're still nothing's happening. Here we are, we're into January. You want that to be done in December if you can do it. But there's just not enough going on with the Cubs right now. It feels so weird. Um, there's a lot of I just had this pop up on my history of January 7th and the Cubs. This is pretty cool on this one. Today in history in 1882, the National League will continue the practice of using different color patterns on uniforms for the different positions. Third basemen will wear gray and white uniforms, as the blue and white uniforms originally sought were impossible to obtain. That's the history of Chicago Cubs in 1882. That's what came out. What came out in 2021? Hall of Fame manager Tommy Lasorda passes away at home at the age of 93. That was in 21. And that's some history that came out. It's also got some other, I don't even know where this came from. It just popped up on my screen. Today in history in 49 BC, the Roman Senate declares Julius Caesar an enemy of the Roman Republic. And you know what happened to Julius Caesar? Yeah, something about a knife and somebody, and yeah, he didn't last very long. In 1610, Galileo discovers the first three moons of Jupiter, Io, Europa, and Ganymede. In 1611, the trial of Hungarian aristocrat Elizabeth Bathory for killing and torturing hundreds of young women, later sentenced to house arrest for the rest of her life. What? She was an aristocrat. She had money, right? Isn't that the deal? If you're a politician or you have money, you never have to pay for your sins, it seems like. So there she was. She killed and tortured hundreds of young women, and she was sentenced to house arrest. In 1611, that's when that happened. In 1790, the French Revolution was happening. A major riot breaks out in Versailles as people demand lower bread prices. That was on this date. And on this date in 2018, snow falls in the Sahara Desert with 15 inches reported in northwestern Algeria. Awesome. You got to love that when there's snow in places it's not been in before. All right. So that's a pretty cool place here. This is actually through Yahoo. I got it through Yahoo Sports, but it shows some places where you can get history and some things like that that are pretty neat. But the history of the Cubs has been to wait and wait and wait and do something late, and they seem to be doing it again now. Catchers and pitchers show up just 5-6 weeks from now. And it would be nice if they got a new pitcher in there, a top of the lineup pitcher, like your number 1 or 2 starter out of the 5. But the guys last year were a strong team. They were in the top 5 and starting pitchers are right there somewhere. And they did a great job. It just wasn't quite enough for the playoffs, even though they won one of their playoff series. So this year, looking for even more. There were, of course, a lot of people reflected on what happened on January 6th, which is now 6 years ago already, or 5 years ago. There's still people debating about pardons and what happened there. And let's just say it this way. You can't have a coup without weapons. You don't just break in a window and go in a building and then you're trying to have a coup. And that's what it turned into. That's what the media tried to turn it into. There were 200 people there to 300 people there who were breaking the law and doing a lot of bad things, breaking windows and busting things up and fighting that should have gone to prison, and most of them did. That's a good thing. But there were a lot of people who were hurt by this and did prison time who basically walked through the building, or they were, they had to plead to misdemeanors of different things, and they never did anything. But that's because one side was trying to make something out of it, while the other side was trying to downplay it, of course. But it ended up being somewhere in the middle, and it was not a coup. No one led it. And if when you find out that there were over 30 actual people, cops, FBI cops in the field kind of egging things on possibly, that's something we don't want to go to, right, in our lives, where our cops, our FBI, our CIA, or people are promoting things and getting things to happen instead of you actually doing it. Like the guys who tried to kidnapped the governor in Michigan, and someone was implanted into them from the FBI or the CIA. I think it was the FBI, and he pushed them to do things that they never probably would have done. And that came out, right? Well, a lot of that happened on January 6th, too. And then, of course, the media ran with it, and then new people ran with it, and it was crazy times. Uh, you didn't know what was going on. COVID was still happening. People were struggling. Um, and they were locked behind their TVs. A lot of them weren't going out as much, and people fed on it. That's for sure. People fed on it. That's for sure. No police died that day. Only one person died that day, and she didn't have a weapon. And that's a shame that that even happened too. But the people were wrong for busting things up and rioting like they did. That's for sure. But we didn't do anything about the riots all across the country under the George Floyd thing, did we? That's kind of weird that that happened that way. I'm not sure how that happens, but hey, it does. Um, paycheck impact. Well, how's that? We just talked about that. That some of you are gonna have to start paying off your school loans, and how's that gonna affect you? Um, what else we got here? I just kind of going through things to get to the top of the hour, and we'll kind of see how things are going again. Uh, when I talked about Venezuela at the top of the hour, and we were talking about that, and the vice president taking over, she's a communist too, and that how she got the police and the army already on her side to go show force, right? She's got to show force to show she's in power. Isn't that typical of the dictator doing that kind of thing? And this year, that's going to be trotted out all over the place with Trump. You can see that happening already. Anytime he makes any move, they try to say he's a dictator. He's trying to do this, that, and the other. Only one side is trying to stop people from talking. Only one side is trying to stop you from doing anything. And it's not Trump at this point. Um, but both sides truthfully want freedom for everybody. I think in the long run, they just don't know how to go about it. And one side is misguided and the other side is misguided. And that means the rest of us are kind of caught in the middle. And unfortunately, that's could be a tough thing for all of us over the next few years. Trump's trying to get the boat straight and get it moving right, and I think he's doing pretty well on that. Even if you disagree with the tactics that he does use, he's not a fascist. He's not communist. He's not going to stay for another 4 years after this is done. But it's funny every time he gens it up and makes you guys all run and scream to your computers and start yelling about it. Um, by this time, you would have thought and you would have known that he is just egging everybody on with a lot of this stuff. But everybody keeps falling for it. So wait that 24 hours, wait that 48 hours before you start making decisions on what you think and what you see and what you hear. All right. So let me pop into. I use a website, a news website called Daily Mail. Right. Now they're starting to get subscriptions to it in places, but they still have a lot of free stuff on here. But a lot of the big things hit, and you usually see it, right? Um, we're talking. One of the things that was live. It says Russia responds after U.S. risked Putin's wrath by seizing two oil tankers in Europe and in the Caribbean, and we've had a not an aircraft carrier, but a Coast Guard ship following a tanker all the way across the Atlantic. And they keep saying they're trying to board it, but I don't know if we're just following it or if we're actually trying to board it. It's hard to say. Um, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth claimed that the blockade or of sanctioned Venezuelan oil remains in full effect after the U.S. secured a Russian-flagged oil tanker in European waters. So I don't know if we actually stopped them now or not. I have to read into the story a little bit more. It's showing live, so this is happening right now. They're trying to do this. Is there going to be something back and forth with this? Okay, it was the MV Bella 1 in the Northern Atlantic. Dramatic footage showed American Special Forces boarding it and taking over. So after pursuing it for weeks, so we actually did it. We weren't just following it, we did something. We got on board there. Uh, the Russian Transport Ministry then responded by saying no state has the right to use force against vessels properly registered in other countries. It added that U.S. forces boarded the Marinera at 3 p.m. Moscow time. So this is just happening. Looks like Donald Trump appears to have dismissed the threat of Vladimir Putin's forces lurking nearby, including reports of a submarine. And that wouldn't go well if he tries to come back. See, that's the thing about these things. Putin attacked, and he knew that there wasn't going to be some kind of fallback, right? We'd yell and scream, stomp our feet, and yes, Ukraine would fight back because it's their country, but nobody else would do anything. Aren't we doing the same thing right now? We're taking an oil tanker. Russia's going to stomp and yell and scream its feet, but it isn't going to do anything because it knows if it does, it's going to get curb stomped, so to speak. Um, so that's how these games keep playing out, and Trump keeps using the heavy-handed part of it very well, and he will do what is needed. They know that. They think he's a little crazy. They know it crazy enough that they worry about that he could do this. If it was Biden and Biden said something, they wouldn't have worried anything. They'd have just kept that ship on going, and we never would have done anything about it, and it probably wouldn't have happened. Russia knows that. That being said, that was Biden's idea. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a softer push towards things, but that led to things like the border being wide open and a lot of things that a lot of people didn't like. But I just look at it as Biden had a different idea of where he wanted to go with the country. And that's the way I look at the left and right, folks. You don't have to look at it that way, but that's the way I look at it. They got this road, it's going this way. Some of those things work, some of those things don't. The right has a road, they want to go this way. Some of those things work, some of them don't. If you really go back and look at Trump and what he's done historically, politically, he's almost dead center. He's not leaning to the right. Matter of fact, he was more liberal for a lot of years, and they'll tell you that. Most of them thought he was going to run as president on the left side, on the side of the liberal side, on the blue side, so to speak. Instead, he ran on the red side. So now that he becomes a fascist, but that happens with everybody who ever runs on the Republican side. If you're only been on this earth 20, 30, 40 years, you don't know what history has been with politics. This is the exact same thing that's happened for decades upon decades. The left attacks and uses the media to make the right try to look like they are awful people, that they're Nazis and they're Hitler and all these things. And people are sick and tired of it. They've been listening to it for years. Um, poor Mitt Romney was called Hitler. Mitt Romney, you guys know who Mitt Romney is, one of the quietest dudes on the planet, never should have run for president, was never going to win because he's too timid for the Republicans. But he was called Hitler. But I can remember it as an 18-year-old and them calling, um, who was it at that time frame? It was Jimmy Carter, and then it became Reagan. Sorry, couldn't remember Reagan's name. I'm pulling a blank on Reagan there. But Reagan, they called Reagan Hitler, right? As he got the country back on its feet. Soon as Bush took over, Bush was Hitler. Then Trump came around, he's Hitler. But then they went over the top with Trump. And partially that's because you now have the internet and streaming and all these different ways to find out information, where years ago you only had 3 or 4 stations and it was tougher. They still had control of the media, but they didn't have to go overboard as much. Now they're like way over the top with this stuff and everything. And I see the right doing the same thing too. They do it. They just don't do it as well as the other side does. That's all it is at this point. But both of them are crazy, especially on the outsides. And towards the middle is where most of us are. And we're not nearly as crazy as those are out on the fringes. All right. So it's just one of them things that's always we're going to run into. You're not going to get around, but it's gone over the top the last 10 years. And I believe a lot of that has to do with the internet. It has to do with social media. It has to do with all the different places you can get information. Um, your best place to find information right now is X. It truly is. You'll find out information there quicker than you will anywhere else. Um, when you find out information from Fox News, you need to check to see if it's being reported the same way on CNN. If you find out something from CNN, you need to check Fox News to see if it's being reported the same way. When they both report exactly the same way, there's some truth in it, right? When you get people calling people names, there's no truth in it. When you get people showing lies and telling lies, there's no truth in it, right? There's nothing there, so nothing to believe. You got to find both sides coming together saying the same things. Then that's the truth and details on those details. Otherwise, they're just going to pick things out of there and make it sound like something else. All right. So that's kind of the way that our politics has been running the last 10 years. And the TDS is out there really bad for a lot of you guys. Just don't worry about it. There's going to be a new president in 3 years. He'll be gone. We'll be on some kind of path. You'll have an idea for your path. And if that path is voted on and people come in, we'll go down that path. And then the people over here will complain about it for 4 years. Right. And that's just the way that it's going to work. just stop being stuck in it as much. I get to talk about it right now for 3 hours a day. I can talk about that. I can talk about weather, sports, whatever it is. This is pretty cool. I hope this builds and gets bigger. Hopefully, I get to talk to you guys some more. I've been chatting with Ray all day. I chatted with Gunner off and on. I see more and more of you are starting to watch at times. It's kind of cool. Actually, it's kind of fun. I thought it was something that we were going to need in the local area. So I'm just putting my foot out there and doing it. Plus, I'm kind of stuck at home, not feeling great the last year or so, and I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I have, just like the rest of us, and just enjoying it myself the best as I can too. We're getting close to the top of the hour. At the top of the hour, I'll go back through weather again for us, and we'll see what's going on there. But it does look like we took over the ship, or at least we. This is all in the last hour. This happened, 10:47 for the time frame. The tanker received a temporary permit to fly the Russian Federation flag issued in accordance with Russian law and international law. And before the seizure, Russia's foreign minister said that it was following with concern the anomalous situation that has developed around the Russian oil tanker Marinera. So it just goes to show Trump always backs up what he says he's going to do if he needs to, But most of the time, he throws that stuff out there to get something. And he's not getting something for himself. He's getting something for our country in one way or the other. Regardless of you think of it that way or not, that is what he's trying to do, at least in his mind. And most of the time, I can see that. Just like everybody else, there's sometimes I go, what? What? But, that's just the way it is. And I did the same thing with Biden. What? Why are we doing that? How can we do that? Okay, that's cool. I like that. Okay, that's cool. I like that. You got to be able to find yourself and get yourself out of the mosh pit, so to speak. I don't want to be tossed around the top of the mosh pit myself, right? I want to just find my quiet little spot, have everybody else argue over it, and and we'll see how it goes. And keep us safe, keep us free, and that's what most of us are really looking for, just freedom and leave us alone. So that's what happened with the ship. That's happening right now. If I find out some more information on it, I'll pop in here and I'll let you know about it. But I'll keep that window open and try to talk about it as it's happening. We took over the tanker as it entered the European waters or heading in that direction. We had some of our troops pop on board, and that's where we are on the front with that. That tanker had left Venezuela, and that's why we were trailing it and going after it. All right. That was one of the reasons anyway. What else do we have going on? Boy, I'm going to cover some things. Well, we talked about Venezuela a lot, but we'll probably cover some more of that. We'll cover some more of the local stuff, back to some basketball with Purdue playing this evening here in town. We'll maybe talk a little bit about what happened between North Korea and South Korea and Iran trying to mix itself up in the mix of everybody and their brother. And they're struggling with people all over the country there, basically rioting and, running in the streets. And right now, occasionally they've been shooting people in the streets there in Iran, but there has been rioting and people protesting all over. I mean, we're not talking just in Tehran. We're talking like all over the country, and we're talking thousands upon thousands of people all over the country. So the question has to be, how much longer is Iran even going to be the Iran we've known for the last 45 years since the Shahs took over in 1979 and ran the most prosperous country in the Middle East into the dirt, right? And that's what they did with Iran. They took the most prosperous, most free, open country in the Middle East and ran it into the dirt. It was beautiful. And that started in 1979 when they took over. And every time they have these riots or these protests, they go out and start shooting people and it calms down. But it's been going on 10 days now. So we're going to have to see how that goes. I'll try to find some news about that here shortly. I'm going to get back into the weather here real quick. At the top of the hour, that's where we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go over there to that. And at the top of the hour here, I like to cover the weather. And it's 38 degrees. So it's still cloudy here in Lafayette, still 38, 39 degrees. It's been, looks like it's 42 over in Danville, starting to warm up a little bit. The sun is going to come out here the next few hours, somewhere between 1 and probably 3 or 4 o'clock. Should help warm us up this afternoon just a little bit into the mid to maybe upper 40s. Could we scratch out 50? It's a possibility still, something to keep in mind there. But as we look at this, 38, winds at 5 miles an hour. Still shooting for a high of 48 on the model. So this is just a generic number from the model. 57 tomorrow, 61, 41. Then there's a cold spell coming in on Sunday into Monday. Let's go to the satellite picture now first and see if we're starting to see some of the clearing. And sure enough, Lafayette's right here at the end of the arrow. And look at the gap just to our southwest and south of us. Looks like Crawfordsville's breaking into the open right now already. You can see that there's some open skies there, but then there's a batch of clouds behind it. But there's erosion. You can see erosion along the edge right in here. You can see the open spot there, which is slowly edging towards Lafayette. So looks like some scattered sun in the next hour or two there, maybe some lingering clouds, and then the open spot just isn't quite here yet. That hasn't moved much, but it is slowly starting to erode on the backside. So the high is kind of pushing in towards us. Oh, these are all low clouds, these grays and these whites. These are all more higher clouds when you get into the higher yellows or even reds there and orangish colors. And that's how you distinguish between the two on this specific visual shot. This is a visual shot that's been enhanced so you can see the differences between the high and low clouds. And I like this one real well because I can pick up everything pretty easily. Again, Lafayette right at the end of the tip there. Here's Indianapolis. Chicago's up to the north. I put all the interstates on here, the counties and the rivers, so hopefully you can see it a little bit easier. We go back in and start to look at some of the stuff, though, locally. And this is the high resolution rapid refresh model. And I'm going to go right back to precipitation first. Actually, let's start with temperatures. How's that? Let's start with the temperatures and what we're looking at, and we'll go to the time frame here. Here we are this afternoon. You notice we're hovering around 40 degrees right now. That's where we're at. And it shows us this is 11 o'clock and it's right on the money. It's 38, 40 in the local area. And this goes to 42. Then we increase some sunshine. We still got a little pocket. See how that darkness there, maybe a pocket of cloud still left in the model that the model is picking up. But it shows us still getting to 47. And right at the end of the day, right as the sun starts to set, when we're getting into the 4 to 5 o'clock hour, you're going to be hovering in the 50s just out to our west and probably right around us somewhere. So if we can break down a few more of these clouds, we can get to that 50 mark this afternoon. But it seems like the erosion wants to come in a little bit farther to the north. That's just based on the temperatures, though, right now, not anything actual. We got to keep an eye on the satellite pictures to find what we can find in there. Let's go back to where we are now. Where are we at now? 16, that's us now. You notice you can kind of you can see where it's a little warmer right in here, and then it's a little colder here where the clouds are. The clouds are here, then there's that open spot, then there's no clouds down here. And then as the day goes on, boom, 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 that you can see the erosion of the clouds and then starting to pick up the sun and getting warmer as the day goes on. The high pressure system is down over Kentucky to West Virginia this afternoon after being down towards Evansville and the Little Rock area this morning. And it's moving off to our southeast. And eventually it's going to give us a southerly wind. It'll keep us pretty warm overnight, mid to upper 30s for your lows overnight. And then look at this nice warmth tomorrow. Bam. All the way up to 60 degrees. All this wind coming out of the south, even southeast. The low is now out over Iowa. This is tomorrow evening. Thursday, January the 8th, tomorrow evening. And then it kind of tracks across Lake Michigan, which is where it's been for the last 2 days on most of the models. It's just varied slightly 50 miles one direction or another, which has given us a little less or a little more chance of rain depending on the timing. So it's kind of still iffy on that with the time frame. Tomorrow's high somewhere around 60. The high on Friday will probably be at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then it'll slowly get colder as the day goes on, although most of the day is still going to be pretty warm. So that's something to see. Let's go back to where we are rain-wise. Let's go to precipitation, and then going to go to the winter side so I can see where the snow is. And here's the high again, right here down to our south. There's no real precipitation just about anywhere in the local area. Some scattered light shower here or there, maybe some sprinkles from these low clouds and some fog. But generally speaking, no big precipitation. It stays that way for a while. Then we see the system starting to approach from our southwest tomorrow. And it gets locally, look at that, it crosses over us right there. And that is around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Your low pressure system is out here right on the Missouri into the Iowa area. You can see it wrap around. The cold front goes behind it with another low pressure system behind it. But this is a big warm front right here. That's what you're seeing. right along that isotherm, the 5581, and you can see that's where the precipitation is. Lafayette is right here at the end of the little finger on there, right there, right? But we're just in the edge of this precipitation, and it's only an hour or two tomorrow afternoon, and it goes through very quickly, and we get into the very warm pocket of air out in front of the cold front and behind the warm front. And that's what we'll see tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours, and then some scattered showers come in around midnight or so, maybe 9 o'clock, as early as 9 o'clock. Just depends. You can see how we're just running along the edge, Lafayette being right here. All right. So we're running along the edge. We maybe get a shower in and out. Then we get some more consistent rain after midnight. It could be an isolated thunderstorm in there. So a clap of thunder or two is possible. Doesn't look real major on that front. And we're not talking something real big and severe, at least at this moment. But thunder is not out of the question tomorrow. That'd be Thursday night into Friday morning, early Friday morning. And some scattered showers linger during the day. The low is now way up over northern Michigan. We've got a trailing cold front behind the system and some cold air behind that, which may try to push into the area, but that may be out on Saturday before that actually gets in. So for the next day or so, today looking good, some increasing sunshine. Then tomorrow, increasing clouds, and we have an approaching system, but very, very warm. Slight chance of some rain late in the afternoon, and then it pops up again around midnight or so with a clap of thunder sometime towards the morning hours on Friday. So that's the next 24 to 48 hours for you guys. Let's go out a little bit farther. The NAM goes out, I think, into Saturday into Sunday. Same thing. You see the line of thunderstorms and it moves along. Everything looks pretty good. And then we keep an eye on the low pressure system, which is along the cold front that swept through and see what its positioning is going to do. The closer the low comes to us, when it gets up into Indiana, the better chance we'll get into some of this rain and maybe snow on the backside. If it slides and stays a little farther south, then we may stay out of the rain for a while. All right. But right now, it's starting to show more and more chances of rain. This is the new 12Z ob. This is different from what the 60 is. So it's got it closer to us now. And that means a better chance of rain on Saturday, starting up in the morning hours, early morning, staying there in the mix, snow not that far away. And then as the temperatures drop off late Saturday into Sunday, we get a chance for a little bit of light snow coming across. I don't think we're going to see a lot out of that. Let's take a look at the snow accumulations. Yeah, still only showing a half an inch on that for precipitation possibilities. We'll go over to the GFS, which shows almost the same lineup right there. And let's see what it does for the next couple hours after that. Let's see if it swings some of this snow up here to the north down across the lake and towards us on Sunday. So there's Saturday. And there is a little wave right in here. And that's early Sunday morning. And then that just kind of moves on. And then there's another little shot Sunday evening. So clouds and some in and out snow on Sunday is a possibility. And let's see what its accumulation shows for us. Starts off at like a third of an inch, and it doesn't get much more than that. So again, this is not a big, huge system snow-wise, but it does look like there'll be some rain out there. And that does lead to the problems, especially Saturday night into Sunday with the cold coming back in, of the rain having come through, some snow falling, and some frozen roads. So we'll have to keep that in mind too if you're out and about Saturday night into Sunday morning, especially. With that. So that's your long range forecast. That's where it's coming in. That's what it's looking like. Going back to that satellite shot, see if we got anything new. Still more of the same right there. And obviously there's no rain around us right now other than some drizzle under some of these low clouds. I'm feeling pretty positive about this opening up. But this seems to be lingering pretty good, although I see edges that are deteriorating on that. So, and the first shot is dark because that's the sun coming up. And remember, the darkness moves from the right to the left. This is an actual visual shot that's been enhanced. That helps you out there for that. So going back to that numbers chart showing 38 right now, says it'll be 43 by 1 o'clock with the sun popping out and 3 to 5. So it's fitting pretty close to what I'm thinking too. I just think the clouds could be a little more stubborn for a while, but we still should see some sun this afternoon. And if you get more than someone else, you may get a couple degrees warmer and you may hit 50. That's a possibility for some of us. And 61 on Friday, but that could come really early in the morning with some snow possibility early Sunday morning and some slick roads that morning. You notice your lows aren't bad. 38 tonight, 57, only 38 on Friday. Then that'll be Thursday night into Friday morning. And then the high on Saturday officially is 41. where the high on Friday, 61, maybe like 3 in the morning. So this may be like midnight, 11 o'clock Friday night for your 38 for your high or your low on Friday. Not Friday morning. Doesn't happen very often, maybe 10% of the time, maybe a little less than that, 5% of the time, where the low comes in the evening or the high comes in the morning. It's usually like it normally is when the sun comes up, right? During the day, you have your highs and your lows are at night. But this week, we're going to have a day or two where it's opposite of that. So that's something to keep in mind, too. All right, let's get out of here. Let's see what's going on in the world today. There we go. Um, Obviously, I focus a lot on weather because I'm a weatherman. That's the way it works, right? It's how you're supposed to do things. You cover things that you know, and you do. In my early years, I was huge on sports, huge on sports. So I'm going to talk a lot about sports, especially the Boilermakers. And I know a lot of you want to see and hear about that, and you want to give your tidbits on what you think. How's the basketball team going to do this year? Are they going to win the NCAA championship? Are the Bears going to win the Super Bowl? Are the Cubs going to win the World Series? All these things come to mind, right? I was huge into sports as a kid. As a matter of fact, I was too focused on myself. And as I got older, I got a little bit away from sports, but I still love it. I still like watching it once in a while. I don't get to watch it live. Maybe some of you do too. We went to two Cubs games this year. We hadn't gone in like 20 years. That was awesome. You got to go to a live ball game. Don't forget the Aviators are in town, so that'd be something you could go see if you wanted to see that. You got Purdue in baseball, football, basketball. There's gymnastics, there's swimming out there, there's track. You got a little bit of everything sports wise in this town. And because you have a top-notch college here, you have top-notch college teams. Does that mean that they're great every year? No, the football team's struggling, right? The women's basketball team's struggling a little bit right now, but they're all getting better. They're all getting better, and you're going to have a pretty good product on the field to watch and to enjoy, and to like almost feel like you're living with them. You know what I mean? Like the men's basketball team, since I've been so focused on it the last 4 years, I feel like I know Braden Smith, and I know Fletcher Lawyer and TKR, and I know the guys there on the team because I look at so much stuff about it because it interests me. Um, People say, I tell them I'm kind of a semi-retired meteorologist. Well, you never become retired as a meteorologist because people always ask you what the weather is like once they find out you're a weatherman. Well, it's the same thing in sports. I may have gotten a little bit away from it, but I'm not really retired from it. I just don't watch it as much as I used to. I realize there's a more of a focus on family and people in my community and other things as I'm an assistant pastor at my church. Um, and so there's more things to life than just sports or just weather, which became my life for many years until I took that step and found Jesus a bit more in my life and eventually have now become a pastor. And if you want to talk about something, you want to chat something along those lines, where you can talk about religion, you can talk about sports, you can talk about weather, local stuff. We hit a bunch of local stuff this morning. They found out the name of the girl who passed away in that accident. 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago now. And she was 29 years old, and no word on what happened, how it happened. But she passed away. It was Monday morning, I think it was, if I got my days right. I may have them mixed up. But they found out who she was. We talked about that a little bit this morning. Her name was Hannah Dowell. She was 29 years old. They're still investigating what happened, but there were damp roads out there, and she went over in a ditch. And we talked about some gang member being arrested here in Lafayette. Yes, gangs in Lafayette. Did you ever think that that would happen? Probably not if you've been here for a while. But let's think about this. We get the influences from Chicago. We get the influences from Indianapolis. I think sometimes they meet in Lafayette and then go do their business back in their towns. But the other thing that's happening is both those cities are slowly growing, and they're growing right along the interstate towards us. There are plans on how Indianapolis is going to grow towards Lafayette, and how they're going to put businesses and companies all along the interstate. That's a good thing for jobs for people around here. But that also adds to different other things like crime. Crime usually goes up when your city gets bigger and there's more people in it. It's just a mainstay. That's what happens. Look at your big cities all around the country. That's where most of your crime is. That's where the worries are. That doesn't mean out in the country they don't have their own problems. It just means there's the big focus seems to be on the big cities, and they have their big problems with their gangs and their murders and all their problems that they run through compared to what we do out here in the country, which isn't as much. But we have other problems that we have. We have a big drug problem that's out here that's just as big as it is in the inner cities. It's maybe different types of drugs. That's all. We got a big alcohol problem out in the countries, just like we do in the inner cities. So that's an equal there too. But gangs, we don't have that much of, and we're starting to see a small influence in there. There's reports on Star City TV, WLFI, the JC Online, about how this Lafayette gang member was arrested for intimidation after a social media post. And my guess is he said he was going to do something to somebody. He didn't just call him some name, right? And he's tied to a local gang activity in Tippecanoe County. Okay, I can't say he because it doesn't say he or she. I don't know who it is, but I'm assuming it's a he because my mind says gang members are males usually. Um, so there you go on that front. The law enforcement is monitoring online threats around the community. Yes, regardless of what you think, if you are on the internet, you are being watched somehow or another. Not by somebody sitting at a computer watching you, but by an algorithm and an AI machine that's looking for you saying specific things. That's how it's working. That's where it's going. You're not going to get around it, despite the fact we don't want it, right? The only way you're getting around it is unplugging everything. That's it. That's the only way you're going to get around it. It's going to happen. There's going to be cameras everywhere, and there's going to be internet people everywhere, basically AI and machines looking for things. And that can be good. And sometimes you can catch murderers, you can catch problems, but it's going to be abused. You know, it's going to be abused. It's already being abused. We've had people being checked on because they said certain things that they had the freedom to say because they were of one political persuasion. And I think that's gone both ways since this started because they really opened the Pandora's box back after 9/11 when they started allowing this to happen a bit more and more. And now both sides use it, right? Both sides use it on the other side. So we've got our own problems with that kind of stuff, right? So there's some lane closures around Creasy Lane and near the Chick-fil-A area and the Culver's there where they're doing some work. And I know it's been really bumpy in there over the last, I don't know how long it's been, but I've noticed it here off and on when I go through there too. But it is expected to reopen soon and they'll have updates. I think you can probably find some information on that on the Lafayette.in.gov website or the Tippecanoe.in.gov website. But both those Chick-fil-A and Culver's and all that area is tied to our economy. So we want to get that moving as fast as we can. And you're advised to kind of stay away from that area if you can. Okay. Again, same things. All the major networks and the newspaper in town have a story on it. You can find the specifics on it there. The JC Online, I say you go there, check them out. You get your paper. That's one place to find your news. WLFI and Star City are the other two places. And we want to support these places because once you stop supporting them, they are going to disappear. You do not want our news to start coming from Indianapolis to come try to check on what's happening in Lafayette. Because if there's 10 stories, you're going to get one. You're going to get one story out of Lafayette. Now you're still getting out of 10 stories, you're getting 8 out of the 10. Right? Because you got different places getting to them to report on them. So support them the best you can so that they can stay in business and keep working, trying to find out information for you. That's what they're trying to do. And then, of course, what's the big thing going on tonight? It is the big basketball game. The big basketball game. Purdue is playing Washington tonight. That'll be exciting. They just got done beating Wisconsin. They're 13-1. They've won 5 in a row by a score of like 26.6 points, I think it is. So the men's basketball team is doing really, really well. I've predicted the national championship in only 3 losses. That was early this season, but it is tough. Some tough teams have popped up, like Nebraska has come out of nowhere. They're very good. Michigan was kind of, are they going to be good? Are they not going to be good? Well, they look really good. So now there's some people out there that may give Purdue a run for its money, and it's going to be an exciting season. They're 3-0 in the Big Ten right now, and I said they'd lose one Big Ten game and one maybe the championship game of the Big Ten tournament, or maybe 2 Big Ten games during the season and nothing in the tournament, and then they would win the NCAA championship. That's where I was going with everything. That was my predictions for what was going to happen. I also predicted Braden Smith would have 12 assists per game, and he's almost at 10 at this point. And if he did 12, he could get to breaking the NCAA record against Indiana next month. That would be exciting, but it looks like it's going to be more like the Big Ten tournament is when he's going to break it, at least at this point. Got a bunch of numbers for you. This is exciting. You can find some of these numbers at the Purdue website, of course, with the basketball. Their athletic site is where you can find a lot of these numbers. But the high scorer on the team right now is Fletch. Fletcher Lawyer is scoring 14.4 per game. And his 3-point percentage is 406. Man, 40% from three-pointers. And he's been in a slump. He did go 4 for 10 in the last game, which is right at 40%. But before that, he was shooting about 20% for about 4 games in a row, and they still blew everybody out in those games. That just goes to show you. And he's still averaging 14 points a game. I'm thinking I predicted him to be right around 14 to 15 as the season went on. So he's doing pretty good there. Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's averaging 13.8. And you're saying to yourself, well, man, didn't he average almost 20 at last year, or he averaged 20? I think Trey's taking one for the team here. He's pushing his rebounds up. They're almost a 10, 9.8 on his average from rebounds. And that's, 4 more than he had last year on the average. He's been a double-double machine. And he's fine with other people scoring as long as they win. As long as they win. And then that leads to the next guy in the point score, 12.6 at Braden. He's doing the same thing. He's fine. He'll score when he needs to score, and he doesn't score when he doesn't have to, and he distributes the ball all over the place, and he gets it to whoever needs to be gotten to. He's averaging 4 rebounds a game, and he's averaging almost 10 assists a game, and he is definitely still on most people's numbers the best point guard in the country. All right, so that's Braden Smith. That's your top 3. Those are your 3 seniors. They're the leading scorers, right? They've been here for 4 years. They know what they're doing. They're the ones that are going to lead you to the national championship game. And between them, they shoot 38.9, 40, and 40.6% from 3. So 40% shooters from 3, even though Trey's only taken 5. So that's pretty good there from the 3-point range. And Trey does his work down low. Fletch does a lot of catch and shoot, drives the lane once in a while, and Braden does a lot of distributing and scoring when he needs to. And they all know what the big outcome and what the end game is, which is the national championship. Doesn't matter what your per game thing is, and you rarely see that, it seems like, with athletes anymore. And I can say this, I was like that too when I played my softball, my football, all my different things, when I was, especially in the military, when I was in the Marine Corps and competing with people. I wanted to show you what I could do, and I was going to rub it in your face. We've seen a lot of that with people over the years, and now with social media, we can see a lot of that too with them in college and high school, different places. These guys aren't that way. These guys aren't about themselves. Yes, they want to play well. Don't get me wrong. That's not what we're talking about. But we're talking about we'll win at any cost, and we'll do all the dirty work and I'll give up my points if we still win. And that's an awesome thing. And it's exciting to see. And boy, not a lot of teams are going to have the seniority and the experience that this team has when we roll into the NCAA tournament in 2 months. All right. Oscar's next on scoring. He's at 11.4, and he is at 8.8 rebounds. Daniel Jacobson's right behind him at 8.7 points and 4.2 rebounds. So that means they're pulling in 13 rebounds, and they are scoring 21 points a game, or 20 points a game between the two of them. Would you take a 20 and 12 guy every week, 20 and 13 guy every week down low? You sure would. Doesn't matter which one of them's doing it either. Generally speaking, Clough is playing a bit more. He's at 23 minutes, and DJ's at 16. But at times, once in a while, DJ plays a little bit more. Just depends on the setups and who they're playing. Going to be a tough one for Oscar and TKR this week. They're going against 2 big men, but I think they're going to push at them and try to get these guys into foul trouble, and it'll be even easier. And that's going to open up everything for Fletch, for Braden, for CJ. CJ's next on the scoring. He's at 8 points a game. And CJ's like what is that? The knife with all the different blades on it. He can do a little bit of everything. Don't you like that? He's shooting, what is he shooting? 47%. He's 41% from 3. All right. So CJ, let's start seeing you shoot 5, 6 a game out there, right? That's what we want to see from the threes. We want to see Fletch shooting 10. We want to see CJ shooting 5 or 6. We want to see Jack Benner shooting 2 or 3. Between them, they're all shooting about 50%, because Jack Benner's at 60% on his threes. He's 18 for 30. Crazy number, 18 for 30 on a national championship team. So Jack is the only reason he's not scoring more is because he's getting less time because he's behind TKR. That's understandable. But when he gets in there, he's doing some damage. And I saw a video of him when he was in high school, when he was rumored to come here and he accepted to come here. And I saw quite the player in Jack Benner. It really surprised me. Um, but wouldn't you suspect that from a guy like Jack Benner? Jack Benner, who can do a little bit of, he's a Swiss Army knife too. He can do a little bit of everything, but he's a little taller than CJ. CJ's more on the guard side. Jack leans towards more of the forward side and the big man side. But watching video of Jack, you could see he knew what he was doing. He had a nice stroke, a sweet shot, could get to the rim, and he's a coach's son. Coaches' sons know what they're doing. They know what they're doing for a reason because they talk to dad every day after games. I remember talking to my son about baseball. We talked the good and the bad. Hey, you did this great today. You did that bad. How about we work on that? We go out and throw balls. You know, he'd stand at first base and I'd throw him short hops from shortstop, so he could work on that kind of stuff. We work on pitching. We work on different things. A coach's son usually knows a lot more about the sport than anybody else, even the guys who are heavy into it. And you have a couple coaches' sons on this team, with Jack being one of them. So it's no surprise to me or anybody else that he's playing as well as he is. Now we just got to get him to be a little more eagle-eyed on the free throws. He's 4 for 10 there. Just a little hit there, Jack, if you're listening. Omer, he's next in line. He's still scoring 6 points a game, and he's not playing that much either, time-wise. He's only playing 15 minutes a game. So he's been in a shooting slump. I think you could say that. He's 13 for 46 from three. We knew he would come in and be a 40% shooter or better. So I think Omer will get that going, though, in the next couple months. That's for sure. Jakari, he's at scoring 5 points a game, and his 3 points at 35%. So that's not bad at all. He's 14 for 40. Jakari's been doing, he kind of does a little bit of everything too. He's definitely known as a defensive help, and him and CJ do the defensive duties on the toughest guy on the other team usually. And Jakari's going to get his swagger going here pretty soon too. There'll be a Jakari Harris game that comes out of nowhere in the Big Ten season or in the NCAA tournament, and people will be like, "Did you see that? Jakari Harris just scored 18, man. What, he scored 18 and they won." That's what's going to happen. Next guy that comes out and plays is Liam Murphy. He's a scoring 2.9. He's shooting 7 for 17, 41%. That's what he's known for from the 3-point range. So he's doing pretty good there. Just Liam can't get on the court that much. Just too many other guys out there. We love Liam. We want him to start doing some scoring too, but it's going to be a struggle for him, it looks like, at least for the time being. And then there's some in-conference numbers, which are similar for most of these guys. Braden Smith is averaging 15 points in the Big Ten season so far. So he's your lead scorer, with Trey Kaufman ran at 14.7 and Fletch at 14, all within a point or so of where they're scoring on average anyway. So they're pretty close in those 3 games. Braden is shooting 50% from 3. And here's what you see. Lawyer's only shooting 35%, 7 for 20 in the Big Ten season. So he's going to come on. There was an 0 for 7 game in there. So let's think about that. He's 7 for 13 in the rest of them, of the Big Ten season. I think it was the 0 for 7 game that he had in there. That doesn't happen to a shooter like him very often. We don't expect that ever again, really, truthfully, to be honest with you. But I want him shooting 10 a game, and no one really worries about it too much. They know he's going to drain some stuff. Oscar comes in next at 11, and CJ Cox is at 9, with Jakari Harris at 7, and a little downturn for Daniel at 7 points for him scoring in the Big Ten season. And as the Big Ten season starts, Jack Benner, Liam Murphy, maybe Omer Meyer, they may not play as much as they were, obviously, but you're still going to need your bench. And these guys are great off the bench. They're good scorers themselves. A lot of them are good in the assists or rebounds. Rebounding wise, Oscar and Trey are bringing in 17 rebounds and a half per game between just the two of them. Just those two guys. One's averaging 9, Trey, and Oscar's averaging 8. So he's averaging 8 and 11, and Trey's averaging 9 and 15. You'll take that any day, right? So let's put Oscar and Daniel Jacobson together. Oscar, and they're averaging 18 points a game, and rebound-wise, where are we at there? Rebounds 4, they're averaging 12. So just barely a slight downtick from what they were doing on the regular season, which is to be expected in the Big Ten, right? That is what you are expecting to see, is that kind of thing from them. Let's see. I think I've got some more Purdue stuff. I got some other stats with the game coming tonight, right? Washington comes in at 9 and 5. They just lost to Indiana on the 4th. They lost 80-90, and that was at Indiana. Meanwhile, they beat Utah away and they beat San Diego away the week before that. So they're coming in at 9-5. They're in the middle of the pack for a lot of the numbers. Um, Here's some of their analytics for KenPom. KenPom's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, number on analytics for the NCAA. And in KenPom, the offense for Washington is rated 66th. They're a very slow playing team. They're 355. And so they like to just walk the ball up the court. They're not great three-point shooters. They're 253rd in the country, so pretty much down there. Defensive wise, they're basically 56th in the country. So you're 66th offensively, 56th defensively, leads to actually 51st in the country. So a top 50 team are right at it. And they still play the ball slow and they try to force you to play a little bit slower. There are some advantages Purdue has. Obviously, the number one offensive team in the country. And I think they can play as fast as anybody. And I think they should. And they'll score 100 a game and they'll still only give up 60 a game because the other team is going to be dead trying to chase them. But we bring the ball up pretty slow ourselves. So our efficiency is number one offensively, and theirs is 56 defensively. Now, obviously, that gives Purdue advantages right there, right? Throw in the fact that they're only playing like 7 guys. You get those 2 big guys in trouble, that team's going to fall apart. And that's the first thing I would do if I was coaching. I would think I would go TKR Clough every other time down the court until those 2 big guys got to go sit on the bench, right? At the very least, that's going to open up the outside shooting, even if they start covering that pretty tough, right? But that's the way I would probably go about it. That seems to be the very obvious way. Maybe we go a different way because that seems to be the obvious way. But that seems the obvious way to get at them pretty easily. Other things, factors, Purdue's defense is now number 15 in the country, and Washington's offense is 66th. So that leads to Purdue having an advantage there. The Boilermakers score a lot. Washington doesn't, and the Boilermakers score and Washington doesn't seems to be exactly what we see. So you're talking probably we're talking another 20-point win here as a potential anyway. Every time you don't match a Purdue basket with one of your own, the Boilermakers are going to squeeze you a little harder. And this comes from Hammer and Rails, so a little bit of this information. Go check them guys out over there, Hammer and Rails. And obviously, three-point shooting, Purdue's one of the best in the country, number 9 in the country at almost 40%. And Washington's defense is not very good, holding teams to 32%, which is actually just about the middle of the pack. So there's a lot better teams and there's a lot worse teams than that. They're at 120th. So that's an advantage there. But there are a few advantages for Washington. One is just an offensive rebounding. They're the number 39 offensive rebounding team in the country. And Purdue is the 58th allowing for three-point shooting in the country. So they allow only 27%. So you see how they're much better than Washington holds their defense against offenses to, what was it, 27 to 32%. So Purdue's 5% better holding teams on the rebounding edge there compared to the three-point edge. So that's over at Hammer and Rails. Great story there from them. Their starting guard is Zoom Diallo. He's 6'4", 180. He's averaging 15 points a game, gets 3 rebounds. You got to tell me, Kwaiamari Peterson? That sounds pretty good. 190. He's 6'1". He's the other guard. He scores 10 a game. Desmond Claude scores 15 a game. He's a senior at 6'6". He's their small forward. Their power forward is 6'11". And this is the guy. He scores 18 a game, and he gets 12 rebounds a game. Hans Steinbach, he's a freshman, 6'11", 220. Now, who's going to cover him? Who's going to go at him? I say you throw Clough right at him, man. You got the same guys, but Clough's got the advantage. And then Frank Kepnig is scoring 5 points a game and rebounding 7. He's the actual center. And there's only 2 guys coming off the bench, really. A wing, Bryson Tucker, and a point guard, J.J. Madaquit, and they're scoring 6 and 5 between them. So not a lot of depth on that team. There's plenty of depth on Purdue. You can run these guys into the dirt is what I would believe. Sorry, Washington. It's just the way it is. You can't keep up with us, and we can keep putting bodies out there, and we could run up and down the court like an NBA team if Coach Paint would allow it. Doesn't always do that, but if he allowed it, that would be exciting to see. I know that I've seen other commentators say the same thing. This team gets out and runs when it gets steals. It just runs if it runs the offense quicker, it's going to score more. Um, and it's a team that holds on to the ball. They do good with the turnovers. So why not run that thing as fast as you can? I know Coach Paint's always big on walking the ball up and working the offense, but work the offense quicker. That's all. That's all. Remember the running Rebels? I'd love to see that kind of thing for a game or two. Wouldn't that be fun to see? See how that works. And then show people that you can do all kinds of different things. You ran with Alabama, you didn't have any problems. You ran with other teams, you didn't have any problems. And you've walked it up the court and been one of the slowest teams against other people and won too. When you walk it up to the court, when you're the bad team, right? When you're the team that's the underdog, that's a plus for you in my mind, right? That's a plus because now, if I'm playing you and you're a better team, but you only touch the ball 60 times, then it's only at so many points you're going to score in 60 touches. But if you touch the ball 75 times and get 75 shots off, I'm in a hurt locker. So why wouldn't I run the offense quicker against a much better team? I think slower offenses bide and help the defense better. Now, you're probing and you're moving, you're trying to make a mistake. Yes, you may be more efficient at scoring, but you don't score as much. That leads to the other team getting hot and losing because of a bad team scoring really well, where you could have scored 100 and you only scored 90, you lose 91, 90. I mean, stuff like that happens. Run that thing up and down the court. But that's excitement for a fan too, right? Still, win the game. That's all that matters. That's what we care about, right? Win the game. That's what the guys care about. So, so Purdue's got that big game tonight. It's on at 8:30, I think. It's on at 8:30, and now I see it's on Fox. It's on Fox. I don't know if that's Fox Sports or Fox regular channel. Earlier last week or 2 weeks ago, I thought it was on the Big Ten Network, but it looks like it's on Fox. So you can check that out when you get a chance. And don't be afraid to email me. You can email me at Let's Talk Lafayette Live at gmail.com, of course. You can chat in the live stream. Had some chatters today. Ray was back on. Gunner was back on. It's great to see that. Ray's back from his surgery. It looks like he's doing pretty good. He helped me out with South Africa. I could not figure out what the S was in BRICS. It just wasn't coming to me, but he helped me out with that. We talked about some basketball. There was a firing of some coaches in the NFL is starting to happen. You're starting to see some upsets here and there. Look, what was it? Minnesota upset Iowa last night. Upset Iowa. Iowa had 3 shots at winning the game or tying the game, I think it was, in the last 6 seconds or 10 seconds. They couldn't get it to go down. And 2 of them looked like they went down in one of those rattle shots. But it was, I think, up in Minnesota. So Iowa, I think, took their first loss on the season there in the Big Ten. Maybe their second. So I have to look at the schedules and see who's playing who and what's going on. Let's take a look at it real quick. What does it look like? I'm going to go to that vaunted ESPN magazine. All right. Standings. Here we go. I'm just like you. I'm just running through the internet while I'm talking about this and trying to keep talking while we're doing it. But we're going to go to the Big Ten and see how they're doing. And right now, obviously, Nebraska and Michigan are 4-0. Purdue hopefully will go to 4-0 tonight. They're 3-0 right now. They're the only undefeated teams left. Minnesota is 3-1, and Purdue already has a win against them. They got 5 wins in a row. That win against Minnesota is going to look better and better if they keep playing well. All right. Michigan State's 3-1. So they're the next 2 teams in line. And then let's see who's 2-1. The Illini are 2-1, and the Hoosiers are 2-1. Good for them. They're both on 3-game winning streaks. All the teams in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, top 7 are on winning streaks of 1 game for Michigan State, but 3 games or more. Just everybody there. Everybody at the bottom is on a losing streak, except for 1 win by the Rutgers, who is 1-3, and 1 win by Wisconsin, who is now 2-2, who Purdue beat on Saturday. Overall, looks pretty good when you look at that. The schedule sets up pretty good for Purdue for the next 3 games. They're all at home. Generally speaking, they're going to win just about every game at home, despite the terrible loss against Iowa State this year. And, those kind of things happen at least once a year that happens. So don't be surprised if something like that happens again this year. But generally speaking, I don't think they're going to lose too many more. But the fight is against Michigan and the surprising number 10 Nebraska Cornhuskers, who we thought normally you think to yourself, Nebraska, every once in a while they jump up and bite you, but you should win that one pretty easily. But they're not doing that all the time. So Uh, Penn State comes to town on Saturday. They are 0-4. And then Iowa comes to town. They have 2 losses in the Big Ten. I thought they had only didn't have any, and that was their first loss, but that was their second loss in the Big Ten last night when they got beat by Minnesota. The Buckeyes are 2-2, and the Bruins are 2-2. Washington comes in at 1-2. Trojans are 1-3, and everybody else is 1-3 or 0 for. Northwestern Maryland and Penn State are all 0 for, and all their records are all 500. There is not a losing team in the Big Ten right now. Everybody's got a winning record overall, but that's overall, not in the conference, obviously. So there you go. That's the percentages there. And when you look at the standings in the overall standings for everybody, right? And where teams are at and where their rankings are at. And when you go and look at that, Arizona's number 1, Michigan's number 2. Both those teams deserve that. They got great resumes. They played some great basketball. Iowa State, same thing, beat Purdue. UConn and Purdue are next, with both with 1 loss, along with Duke and Houston at 6 and 7. Purdue's at 5. None of that changed really in the top 5 because nobody lost, right? As we're getting into the season, there will be some upsets. There will be some surprises. It'll move around a little bit, but I don't expect Purdue to be any lower than 6th, 7th, 8th all season. That, maybe probably top 4 most of the rest of the season. But the teams in front of you have to lose too, right? Where you have to start winning some big games, which aren't on the schedule right away until February. A lot of big games there in February. In the coaches poll, Purdue's also still number 5. They did come up a spot on the coaches poll. They switched with Duke. Flopped. The 2 of them did. Duke went down 1, and Purdue came up 1 in the coaches poll. Other Big Ten teams, though, we talked about Michigan. Who's on Purdue's heels? Well, Nebraska's number 10 now. Michigan State's number 12. We already beat Texas Tech at 14. Illinois in the Big Ten is 16th. Iowa is 19th. And that's it for your top 25. And Purdue has played some of these teams already. Alabama's 13th. We beat them. Texas Tech's 14th. Beat them. Lost to Iowa State. That's the only one, but they're number 3 in the country. That's not going to hurt your resume at all since you did that game. And now you're going to play some of these other top teams along the lines too. And so what was that game I was talking about? The Minnesota game. Did Minnesota get any? No, they didn't get any. But they had that big upset. Now, if they can move themselves into the top 25 somewhere eventually, that game is going to be worth a lot more too on the resume. That Purdue beat back in December on those first 2 games of the conference games were there. All right, so that's it. There's a lot of stuff going on. Man, here it is, 11:45 already. Talked a lot of weather today, talked a lot of sports. Looks like the U.S. has tried to take over that tanker in that'd be the Eastern Atlantic right now is where it is, I guess. And we did that. We sent some guys on and took over the ship. Russia doesn't like it, as you would expect. They're complaining and whining, but they're not doing anything, at least at the moment. That would lead to a big catastrophe if Russia did respond, where this is where we have them. It's why when, talk softly but carry a big stick? That's what you do. That's what we're doing. What we're doing is talking big and carrying the big stick if we need it, right? But we don't use it if we don't need to. And Trump is a master at getting stuff for the United States this way. Pushing the buttons, grabbing Maduro out of Venezuela. Why? He kept saying he was going to do it. He did it. Why? Because he wouldn't give in. Maduro wouldn't give in. He said he could have left. He could have went to Russia. Didn't do it. Now he's in prison in the United States. May never get out. Noriega had the same problem, right? Couldn't run from the power. It's got to always have the power. But these are all going to have falling down dominoes. This one start, because it affects so many different things. And I've been talking about this. I heard this portions of this from Glenn Beck on his radio show. And he said, this is the first domino going in, getting Maduro out of there, taking over Venezuela, not taking it over, but kind of almost getting a regime change. Although we just got rid of Maduro, who's a terrorist. We got a terrorist off there. That's one way to look at it. We got a guy who lost an election by 35%, but still kept power. And he's a communist and he's a fascist dictator. We got him out of there. The Venezuelan people are doing much better, right? But then there's some dominoes that will fall in other places. It affects China. China gets 10 to 20% of their oil from Venezuela. Now what are they gonna do? Where are they gonna get that? They're gonna come to us for it? They're gonna go back to Russia? Can Russia do that? Can they afford that? Do they have the money? Who knows that China can even do that? It affects Russia. That ship we just seized, literally in the last hour or 2 hours, was going to Russia, right? From Venezuela. Okay, Russia has its own oil, but it has to get oil from other places too to survive. So it's a balancing point with them for money. So this is affecting China. It's affecting Russia. It's going to affect other countries. The first one to fall, and this is what I think Glenn said, was it's going to be Cuba. Cuba gets all of its oil from Venezuela. We just shut them off. What's going to happen to them? They're going to have to come to the bargaining table now too, aren't they? And so every little domino is going to fall, and everybody's going to have to worry about different things. And Trump will throw these things out there, and you'll not think anything about it, like the Greenland thing. Like the Greenland thing, what, 4 months ago, he threw that out there and people laughed about it, and then it disappeared. Now it's back into the news. He popped it back out there really big yesterday. It's all part of this domino effect. We need Greenland for bases so we can protect ourselves. And there's also some minerals there. You can't do anything in Antarctica. There's a treaty around the globe that says it's only for research, but you can in Greenland. Plus, Greenland's closer to us, effectively. And there's not that many people there. We're not going to go in and take it by troops. We're not going to do that like we just did with the ship. I don't think, anyway. I can't see how we would do that. But we are going to talk big and carry the big stick. And they know we can carry the big stick. So Denmark's going to come to the table. We'll give them something. They'll give us something. We'll get some bases, or we may even take over, and the Greenlanders will become American citizens. It might work out that way too. But remember, he threw it out there months ago. And now here it comes back. And it's just another one of those dominoes in trying to get rid of the WEF, the World Economic Formation or Fund. What is that? What's the F stand? Federation. There we go. Which was basically Europe, in a way, trying to take control of the planet. Because that's the way you have to look at it. It started there. It started with their elites, their people who have money, all their politicians. That Europe was starting to wane in its prosperity and in its pull and its power around the world. And this was a way for everybody to be blanketed the same, and them still be in power of just about everybody, regardless of what people think. That's how it started, and that's how it worked, and that's what they were going for. They wanted control of the entire planet. They wanted the United States to come in. They wanted China to come in. They want them all to get together, and then we just kumbaya, we're all happy and we're good to go. Then they would have started running communist and socialist things everywhere around the country, everywhere around the globe. You would have lost money. You would have lost your prestige, and we would have fallen into disarray, just like everything else, in my opinion. Now, the people in the WEF don't think that's what's going to happen. They think communism can work, even though it's never worked anywhere. But that's what they think. So Trump has taken that and pushed that off to the side. I really think he thinks Europe is a failure and it's gone. I've thought that for a couple years. I've kind of thought it myself. If you're from Europe, sorry, it just seems that way. You seem lost. You seem to, and we were lost too. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know if we're on the right track now, but Europe seemed totally lost. They were ready to do everything. They don't care. Open it up for everybody, do everything we can, and they just seem to be falling apart. It sure looks like it, at least looking from the outside to the inside towards them anyway in Europe. You can always figure out how the United States is doing by looking at other places. For instance, Australia is a big one. Go look at some of the news in Australia and see what they think about the United States. And they'll tell you basically what the world thinks, but the media won't tell you. And I get a kick out of the Australian Sky News agencies there talking about Trump and all the great things he's doing, and talking about the lunacy on the other side, and how they see it. And Australia is still falling into that same kind of pattern too, where they're allowing people, they're trying to take guns away. They had that big shooting. What was their reaction? Let's take more guns away. Well, you were already the most regulated gun country in the world, and you still had a mass shooting. So it's not the guns, it's the people. But nobody was there to stop them, was there? So instead of it being one or two people shot and somebody stopped them, they killed 40, was it? Or is that, I may be mixing up some of the numbers and different things that happened. There was that fire that lost over 40 people in Switzerland too. I think it was 20 something in Australia a couple weeks ago. But their first reaction was take more guns away. Well, apparently these two guys had legal weapons anyway. But I thought nobody in Australia was supposed to have a weapon. Same thing in New Zealand. Take them away. New Zealand takes the weapons away, and there's a big shooting. Big shooting, and the guy shot like 80 people. So this is crazy. I'm not a big gun guy myself. I've had guns in the past. I've had a lot of guns. I don't have any. I don't need them. But that doesn't mean I should stop you from having a gun if you want it, right? I don't understand that. A lot of folks out there, I want this, I want that. And then someone else says, well, you can't have that because I say so. Well, hold it. Aren't you trying to dictate what I'm doing because you're worried about what I'm doing? Right. But you don't see that you're trying to dictate to me. They never do. They never see that they're trying to dictate to someone else. The right or the left never sees that they're trying to dictate to somebody else in a specific way. When one power takes over, the right or the left, they get to run with whatever they have. Biden ran with his stuff for 4 years. Things fell apart. Trump's running with his stuff. Seems like it's getting better. No guarantees, right? We got to live with it, all right? But don't force things onto us. And that doesn't matter whether you're liberal, whether you're Republican, conservative, Democrat, right? Doesn't matter. I don't want to force stuff onto you. You shouldn't try to force stuff onto me. We do common sense things, right? You kill somebody, you go to jail, all right? Common sense. We don't release them back out into the streets. We don't release someone with 60 felony stops and release them out onto the streets so they can do something else. And that's happening in some of our big cities, right? It's obvious. It's out there. We see it every day. So these are just some of the things that pop up on a daily basis around the United States and all the different things. Most people just want to be left alone. Most people just want to be left alone. Let me get my stuff done. Let me do what I need to do. Let me go have some fun, enjoy myself, and I'll be good to go. But don't pressure me and push me into doing things. And don't dictate to me what I will do or what I won't. All right? That's kind of the way the world wants to be. All of us want that. All right? Don't force me into stuff that I don't agree with. All right? Obviously, I'm a pastor. I don't believe in killing babies in the womb. Does that mean I hate you because you did that, 10 years ago? No, not at all. I want to help you if you want to get through that period. It was a decision you made. If I was there before, I would try to tell you not to do it because I don't think it's the right thing, right? But that doesn't mean I hate you at all, at all. Same thing with any of this kind of stuff. Just because we don't agree with certain things doesn't mean we hate you, all right? And that's the same thing with liberals, I think, too, and the Republicans. I think most liberals don't hate you. They just hate whatever that thing is they're talking about at that point. And they get nasty. They get a little nastier than the other side. I sit in the middle, leaning towards this side, and that seems pretty obvious to most people. The left is a little more strong and nasty with their talking to people about things, where the right isn't that as much. That does not mean the right is not terrible at times, and they are, and their politicians are awful too at times, okay? This is one big politician ring together. They all work together, it seems like, so they can all get rich, and the rest of us sit around going, What? You did what? You took how many dollars from me?" That's the things people don't like, all right? All right, there's the soapbox for the moment. I gotta get off the soapbox, don't I? Gotta stay off that thing because 'cause I'll run into it for a while. Let's take a quick look at the weather out there. It's 41 now, up to 41 degrees. Let me pop the screen up for you guys. There it is. 41 degrees, partly sunny, 5 miles. So we're starting to see some sunshine come through, right? We're starting to see some sunshine. The temperature went from 38, I think it was a half hour, 45 minutes ago, to 41. Let's see what the satellite looks like. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's right on. Boy, if you're in Attica and you're in Crawfordsville, you're probably seeing all sun right now. That open is coming right through there really easily. You can see this opening up real nice, the low clouds. And we are starting to see a lot more. Look at this. Degrading and evaporation on the cloud bank that's out towards the southwest. So looks like Lafayette's coming into the sun here pretty quickly. Just as I said, noon to 3. That'll be nice. It'll warm us up a little bit. We're at, what were we at? 41. So there's still going to be a possibility of us getting to 50 this afternoon, especially down south. If you're in Attica, I think you got a really good shot at it. Crawfordsville, definitely down there too. But us in the north, a little bit less of a chance. I'm up in Battleground, so a little bit more clouds for me, a little bit longer. Going to get real warm on Friday, 60s on Friday, but that may come at like 3 in the morning. And we may even touch the 60s on Thursday late in the evening. as the system comes in on us and we get some rain out of that system Thursday night into Friday. And then a return system comes in on Saturday into Sunday with maybe a few flurries or a light amount of snow on Sunday. We'll keep an eye on that. 5 days away yet still. A lot of things could change with that weather-wise by that time frame. Let's take a look at it. All right, see, Ray was talking with me. Can't do that too much because it throws off the screen. But Ray talked to me today. Gunnar was talking with me. We talked all kinds of different things. We went to different places. I showed you satellite pictures, the weather, to Purdue sports. Man, I'm big on game days. I'm big on game days leading up to that. I'd love to talk a lot of Purdue sports. I'd love to talk weather, the Bears, the Cubs, anybody you would like to. That you like to locally. We talked a bunch of different things. There was a car accident on Monday. They figured out who it was. Things like that have been happening, and we talked about them. But generally speaking, it's been an overall day. I try to start in the morning in the first hour, talk some local stuff the best we can, find out what happened in the day before. I'd love for you guys to start chatting with me more. I'm starting to get a few chatters, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Ray wanted to talk about some sports today. He had an operation yesterday. He came through that, so blessings there. We did a nice prayer for him yesterday, and he got through that pretty well, and he's feeling pretty good. So that's how the first hour will start with a lot of local stuff. We may hit, if there's a big event like someone taking over a tanker, if that had happened at 9 o'clock and I saw it, we would have talked about that right away. But we'll try to talk local generally in the first hour. And then anything goes in the second and third hour. A lot of world stuff in that. I'm kind of big on that because it affects all of us in one way or another. And for some reason, I just have that bug of wanting to know what's in the news all the time, along with the sports bug and, of course, the weather bug. I want to be a weatherman since I was 12. So a lot of us don't get that opportunity, and I've been able to do it for over 40 years. And I enjoy being able to talk to you about the weather and showing you charts and showing you different things. I enjoyed it when I was on TV at WLFI for 6 years back in the 90s. Wow, that's a long time ago. Support those organizations, WLFI, Star City, JC Online. They're your reporters. If we lose them, your reporting is going to start coming from Indianapolis, and there won't be anybody to do it. They'll come up for one story out of every 10. Right now, we get 7 or 8 stories out of every 10 is covered, maybe even 10 out of 10 at times. That's how good the guys are around here locally, and they try really hard, and I appreciate them very much. If I know you, it's great to see you again, and we'll talk again tomorrow. I think I got one more thing here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Boom. You kind of do a little write up to what you're going to finish up with. Let's see what it says. This is what I wrote on here. We got 2 minutes. Day 3 wrapped on Let's Talk Lafayette. I didn't even talk like a radio weatherman like that, huh? Local weather, crashes, fires, Purdue prep, national Venezuela. We talk Greenland, paychecks, global reactions. Thanks for your chats. All right. And then I end with this, and I'm going to change this from time to time. But the first one I started with this week is Proverbs 27:1. So you can go and look at that. It says, do not boast about tomorrow. Amid changes, we're going to see all kinds of different things. So do not boast about tomorrow. We're going to see changes in the weather. We're going to see changes in our sports, our policies. They're going to swing one direction and back to the other. We're going to see differences in world events and changes there. This calls us and our present living to there, right? We need to cherish it now. We need to humble our planning. We need to hope and praise in God and find some kindness, some responsibility, peace in your unknowns, because Lafayette's going to have storms. You're going to have storms. And you got to find a way to get through that. And I think Jesus is the way to do that. And you need to jump on and walk along with Jesus and have a relationship with him. All right. So stay safe tonight. No real drizzle or worries. It's going to be a pretty clear night tonight, a little chilly in the morning, but a nice day tomorrow as the temperatures warm up, with rain coming in tomorrow night into Saturday. It's been great talking with you. Take care. God bless you, your families, the community. Have a great day.